Harry should be up in just
What's that? Boy, the nicest person. Did you know Melissa before him? It's going back like 20 years ago. He's been here 20 years Yeah, I keep saying my mom, I gotta come down here, but she's calling my mom.
So he took it all the way down.
I don't see the reason. She can come to my house and my sister's house. And that's not. A few people we like come up with, we never say.
And they're all in experience.
It should be in an assisted living, but we'll put her there.
And then they're telling us what we should do to make our business. I'm in business 55 years, I've been very successful. So now they're gonna tell me how to fix it.
If it's
Is that what they're
available,
gonna, that's, they're gonna teach me how to do it?
my dad passed away, she passed away.
I think
She's very close.
The only answer in my business is.
How many people can say they're 73 years and spent 24/7 together?
And this has been the warmest year.
They work together, they go on vacations together, they make family together. My father was 20, just sits in the house.
I was outside yesterday walking.
And you just childhood sweetheart. We had a flower shop, run a flower shop.
Yeah,
And he then sold it to Crest
I
Bar.
think they made my loud guy.
And then after him, it became another restaurant.
If that.
Yeah, we already got it.
We had something,
Richard, you brought me that.
or something, I don't even know.
It's supposed to go down to the lower age with the humidity decides to take a leave, it would be less. Yeah, but by Saturday and Sunday.
Because we know it's not cremated. You remember it all.
That's what I'm saying.
I did, I did good. I walked down Merton Street. There's a huge tank in the middle. And I walked in, didn't know anything about it. I parked on Chancellor Avenue. And I walked in.
That was the summer we
I got to my job.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, here's her.
I have another story.
yeah, just straight down by the seats office.
Oh, so it is that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not. It is what it is. Sorry to hear that. It is what it is. Just trying to keep my head above water. Some stuff is slipping through my fingers, but no, it is what it is.
This thing is stuff.
So stay positive. This damn pandemic. I know. I'm so like, I don't even know how it's just a fast. I don't feel like it's getting better. So I hate to say it, but like, I'm worried about like late fall and winter. We're getting in the second year. It's gonna be, not just like the social aspect of people being able, like, what are they gonna be able to do? Zoom, I suppose. It's scary. You know, like, I think at the end of the day, I'm going on vacation starting like Thursday or Monday. it'll
enjoy it. Yeah.
don't have to think about it.
That's the Zoom. Yeah.
Can you smile?
Just gonna be able to relax. One more time, really short.
Yeah.
Perfect, thanks so much. After the meeting.
It's on the website.
Diane, see the cameras are on.
Yep. Sure. Yep.
Hi, how are you?
If nobody takes it, you can take it.
Jimmy, are you gonna like up the air conditioning?
I will, yeah, I was just gonna go check it.
Really hot.
It should be under for agendas and it should be where agendas and minutes are.
Say hello.
It's all right.
Tell me who you are, I don't recognize you.
No, you won't.
Just send you the
Steve
link
Gottlieb.
tomorrow.
Oh, hi. Are you originally from Millburn or Springfield?
No, Millburn. I went to Millburn.
Lori Gottlieb?
I called you back, I didn't get you.
Aren't we?
Well, I was thinking Lori Gottlieb, I thought. 75.
No, that might have been Springfield.
No, I'm Millburn.
No, there was only 75. I was the last one, 74.
Legislative.
I'm my sister's age, Nancy. Nancy's my age, but I did go to high school with Lori Gottlieb, and who thought? But no relation, okay. Well, I'm glad you're here.
I think she sent you.
I will. I just typed her. It's like Steve Gottlieb, I'm gonna tell her right now.
She's an attorney.
Yeah, that's
My sister? No.
There's some right there when you first walk in.
Breaking the law here.
Perfect.
I just got to my township committee meeting, and Steve Gottlieb from your Gravesend Hill told me to say hello to you.
And I wasn't about to go around because I realized there aren't that many people by us.
Agreed.
I mean, I think my club was on top of Tarscale, so I think that's probably too much because it's made a lot of it. So it might, I don't know how they measure it.
Yours.
I just can't go out and
I mean, they're pretty sensitive.
I mean, you know.
I mean, they'll still pick up. And the air is on it. As high as it can be.
I emailed it on. I'm gonna ask them if they say they don't know, I'm gonna say. There's not outlets, right?
There's one right behind this box.
Is it occupied?
No.
Don't count me as 2 hours.
Stands up there. Is that like your, is that your like kitchen seat?
Almost.
I know. I have to make sure it's paying attention. Yes. Well, my throat's starting.
Did you bring an ordinance with you? Do you want it? I have. You got everything? How long gonna be? Because they're counting heads right now. Okay, yeah, I'll,
We're all here. Hello, 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 hello.
Can hear a pin drop.
I'll turn this microphone's off.
Sure, just so you know.
Listen, what this is.
I don't know. This is, look at the second page.
Who is this from? Oh, this is the,
Hi, everyone. Blue.
Hi, Kit.
How you doing, Kit?
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Val. Hey, John. You can say, Haley wants to say hi. She's sitting here during her college application.
Ah.
Oh, good luck.
Hi, Haley. We're doing college applications.
Yep, that's scary as it is. Been there, done those.
Those forms, FAFSA forms or something?
Yep,
Yeah,
those are fun.
yeah.
They were,
I
I
know.
have a good audit firm that hopefully can help me out a little bit.
I barely made it through my own FAFSA.
It's got your name on it. Blue for blue.
Which are the ones you're supposed to? Oh, is that how we do it? Yeah. Now we got this. Your pod. Yeah, you're in a pod with Terry. Yeah, I'm gonna
Just waiting for Cheryl. Hi, Tara.
So is the meeting on Zoom too?
No, the only people that are on Zoom are our professionals.
Are you what?
Are our professionals.
So who's the town professional?
That's the CFO.
That's what? Oh, the CFO.
Jason.
And the lower woman?
The auditor.
Oh, the
Let's do it.
auditor. So you're gonna do the presentation like that? Thank you for the clarification.
Jimmy, you give me the nod one. Okay?
Ready when you are.
Okay.
The only thing is Cheryl.
Oh, you, is Cheryl on the phone?
I'm not, she's not on right now.
Yeah. Hey, no, it's not here. Oh, you're looking at the wall? But you don't have to. Sure.
No. Now she is, yes. She's on.
You know what, maybe I'll do this. I just maybe.
We should have like plexiglass
Yeah.
covering.
Oh, I love you put that
Dividers.
background on her.
Dividers.
That's so funny. Here.
How are you, Cheryl? I'm doing okay, thanks.
I'm going to ask everyone to turn off their cell phones.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's unbelievable.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to ask you all to please turn off your cell phones at this time. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, please be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August 11th. Please all rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Miss Burstein? Here. Miss Prupus?
Here.
Miss Saul Eglo?
Here.
Mr. Wasserman?
Here.
Mayor Lieberberg?
Here.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to approve the June 2nd, 2020 Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the June 16th Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to approve the June 16th Special Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Cheryl. Reports. I will begin. We are currently have 166 cases of COVID-19 in the township. Essex County is reporting 19,786 cases. 83% have recovered. These are cumulative numbers, and those residents that have recovered are still counted as part of the total. As you all know, Governor Murphy has mandated that masks be worn at all times when social distancing is not possible. Essex County continues to offer free testing for residents. Please register at essexcovid.org. I'd also like to add that the Essex County turnaround for results is anywhere from 72 to 96 hours, which is far better than any outside testing. So all the information is on the website. It is free for an Essex County resident, and I would encourage you, if you want to get tested, this Thursday, I believe, is Essex Fells. Next week, there is testing almost every day, usually 2 to 5 in the afternoon. We have extended outdoor dining on Main Street through August 30th, and we have received positive feedback that residents are enjoying their dining, fitness, and overall community engagement. We have numerous restaurants enjoying creative outdoor dining in spaces throughout the township, including the parking lot on Essex and Main, a parklet on Main Street, many on Millburn Avenue and other private locations. Please be sure to participate and support all our local businesses. Tropical Storm Isaias. It's been a long week for our residents. We have heard and understand everyone's frustration with Jersey Central Power and Light. Many of our residents were not restored until Sunday afternoon, and approximately 130 were restored just yesterday. As of this morning, there were still a handful, 6, 7 residents that still did not have power. I know that many of you feel that the township was not advocating on behalf of our residents. I assure you that was not the case. We made phone calls, wrote emails numerous times per day to our area representative, and we were on daily phone calls with JCP&L management demanding information, updates, and timing to our residents. We were advocating consistently for a quick communication and some kind of restoration timeline. Until Friday night, we did not receive any street-specific information. Even if it was simply would have included a global ETR of 811. It was not until Saturday that we began getting more street-level restoration timelines. This information was immediately shared with residents as we received it. We understand the frustration and cannot fathom JCP&L's response and communication during large outages. We understand that restorations with large events will take some time, but not to provide consistent and meaningful information to municipalities and ensure that all municipalities receive the same information during widespread outages is something that demands immediate attention. For this reason, the Township Committee will be passing a resolution tonight to file a formal complaint with the Board of Public Utilities on behalf of Millburn Township and its residents. We will be seeking representation from JCP&L to address the township and its residents at a future township meeting. JCP&L can and should do better with their communication and infrastructure. We will all be part of the process and continue our advocacy beyond the storm. On a bright spot, our Public Works Department was amazing. They did a fantastic job. They worked hard to get our streets open, addressing downed trees, and making the township as safe as possible and as quickly as possible. They continue to assist with cleanup and debris removal. It's in its second day as of today, and I want to extend a big thank you to Public Works and the tree crews. On to some more aesthetics. Box wraps. There have been 5 designs that were chosen to wrap our area utility boxes. The artwork was designed by AP art students from Millburn High School, and they will cover the 5 pedestrian lighting control boxes in the township. We are very appreciative of the artwork that was submitted. We do have a group of highly talented individuals in our community, and I'd like to identify them by name. Olivia Reagan, Angela Hong, Michelle Key, Catherine Reagan, who had 2 entries. Each student will receive a $50 gift card to a downtown business of their choice. The boxes will be located at Douglas Street, Town Hall Plaza, Dunkin' Donuts, Parking Lot 1, Millburn and Maine, and they should be wrapped in approximately 3 weeks. A little bit of color to brighten up our downtown and display our local artists' work. The CETA Art Committee has already begun the process of artistic reviews and have had 8 conversations, Zoom conversations, with artists that submitted a expression of interest for the an art installation at Taylor Park. We are scheduled for an additional 6 later this week, and after that juncture, the committee will, in conjunction with the Art Advisory, will select 5 artists for their proposals. They will be given a stipend of $500, and that will include a maquette or a smaller scale of the project once completed, and then we will do another round of selection after that. That's it for me for my reports. Diane, Committeewoman Eglo, would you like to go first?
Thank you. Put my glasses on. So I just want to start by saying good evening. I'm glad some of you have joined us this evening. Last week, I contacted our business administrator and town attorney if tonight's meeting should be postponed. I have information to compare previous catastrophic storm events affecting our town meetings. Hurricane Floyd hit on September 16, 1999, and there was a meeting held 5 days later.
has been unlocked.
I cannot tell from the minutes if there was full power restored. Google reports power was returned within 5 days, but this was basically a huge flooding event. My house was hit. Hurricane Irene hit August 28, 2011, and there was not a meeting held until 9 days later. Snowtober hit 10/29/2011, and there was not a meeting scheduled for 1 month, November 22nd. Hurricane Sandy hit October 22nd, 2012, and also the next scheduled meeting was not till November 20th, 2012. JCP&L experienced the worst impacts from any storm since Hurricane Sandy this past week, and had restored customers in significantly less time this go-round. Isaias hit August 4th, and we were meeting 7 days later. Millburn's residents did have significant loss of power, as well as internet, cable, and landline disruptions. I think it is fair to say we are more than ever dependent on internet than we have been in those past storms. Residents are still experiencing internet connection issues and landline issues. Now, what prompts me to feel that tonight's meeting should have been postponed is we are also experiencing, for the first time in 100 years, in any of our lifetimes, a worldwide pandemic. And Town Hall is limited due to Governor Murphy's executive orders to 25 people. And many people have expressed reluctance to attend in-person meetings at this time. I would like the record to reflect that I was in favor of postponing tonight's meeting due to the unpredictability of all these circumstances coming together, and because of the importance on tonight's agenda of the second reading and potentially passing 2 very important ordinances affecting our commercial property owners, many who are out of town, and our residents. But here we are tonight, so welcome and thank you. That's it for me, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Purpose, do you have any committee reports, please?
I do. So on September 13th, we're going to have our first tour to Millburn. A group of residents led by Jorge Machipito and who is on our planning board, and Jennifer Duckworth, came together and wanted to address bike safety and have a bike event in town. So we thought this would be great to promote biking and safe roads in Millburn Short Hills. So it's on September 13th. There'll be a 12-mile route that starts at 8 a.m., a 7-mile route that starts at 8:30 a.m., and a 2-mile route that starts at 9 a.m. Registration will begin on the 13th. So I'm just seeing this. We just got a flyer up, so it's not out yet. But I think the website, Millburn's website, will have a link to this. So if you want to participate and bike, and it's going to be limited and safe, regulating to all of COVID policies, and you have to wear a mask and register in advance. And we're just hoping that this is the beginning of a larger conversation about safe biking in Millburn Township. So that's one thing. So this year, Committeeman Wasserman and I and the downtown visioning subcommittee have been working on a vision plan. And we started this process back in February, and we sent out an RFP. 6 responses came back. Then the subcommittee met. We got rid of 2 of the firms. We added 3 members from our planning board onto the interviewing process. Beth Zoll, our chairman, Jorge Machipito, and Dan Baer. We interviewed 4 firms with our planner, Paul Phillips, and our and Joe Maraziti, our attorney, and Alex. From the 4 firms, we then went down, we picked 2 firms. We had another interview process. Then the 2 firms came and walked the downtown with Richard, Alex, and I. We then got the scope really concise. We got the budget down, and we have chosen to move forward with inviting Perkins Eastman from New York City, the firm, to come and present to the Township Committee on September 1st. So that is where we stand with the downtown visioning process. We have started to formulate a steering committee, which we will talk more about on September 1st. The full committee has been given a report of the timeline from Alex, and that will happen in September. So hope you all come back to see that presentation.
Thank you.
And I just want to take a moment, and Mayor Lieberberg, you are amazing. What you have been through in this year and the way that you are leading us and steering us and guiding us, I'm so proud that you are my friend and that you are our mayor, and I think you are doing an incredible job. And I just want to take a moment and just say, like, from my heart and from so many people in this community who I hear in all different capacities, thank you so much. And with that, I'm done.
Mr. Wasserman, Committeeman
Thank-
Wasserman. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Tara, I think you were reading my notes. So I also want to thank you for your leadership. You know, when this storm blew in, I was, I have to tell you that JCP&L, and I don't want to sound, unprofessional, but they were pathetic. And I'm just so disappointed in the way they responded to our residents. Their website was non-responsive. There was nobody to speak to. I was on with constituents on Linden, and they didn't have power, until the very end. And it was almost, in all that heat, nobody to speak to. They had no idea when their lights were going to go back on. And for us to accept this is a disgrace. We have to take action, and if they can't do the job, then we should find a utility that can do the right thing for us. This is not their first rodeo, and I'm really disgusted that our residents had to go through that. There was nobody to speak to, and I just wanted to get that out. So, I also want to note that I'm very pleased about our closure of Main Street. I think that it's really helping our restaurants. I wish that we could do more for them right now, but I think it's added a nice flavor to the summer. And I think our residents are somewhat, are happy that it's available and it's closed, and it seems like a nice place to hang out. So, and I also encourage everybody to dine in our restaurants and enjoy our downtown and go and use our stores as much as you can. And that's my report.
Thank you. Cheryl Burstein. Committeewoman Burstein, excuse me.
Yeah, I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald.
Yes, just a few brief reports, Mayor. Today I attended the Mountain Valley Emergency Communications Center board meeting, which, as you may know, is our joint dispatch with New Providence and Summit. The Mountain Valley Communications Center just passed its 5-year mark. They'd like to invite the public to view their website, which is now up on our website as well. They had always been running a Facebook page, but I think now with the new executive director there and the ability to get around to doing a website, it is npsm911.org. Again, that's also linked on the township's website.
Could you repeat that, please?
Yep, npsm911.org. Today they provided a bit of an update regarding the tropical storm Isaias. The dispatch center was very busy, as you can imagine, between the 3 towns. All 7 seats at the center were staffed for the response to the storm. They received approximately 2,059 calls between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. 1,063 of them had to do with trees. So, a lot of people, certainly utilize that. I think they performed well during that. Certainly some of the non-exigent calls tend to get pushed a little bit for emergency calls, live wires, things like that. But overall, a good response. The bigger news in today's board meeting was that Springfield Fire and EMS are going to come on to the Mountain Valley Emergency Communications Center as a contract participant. This does not include their police department, and they will be on board for 2 years, which at one point, at that point, either party can sort of separate. However, it will be for 2 years. A positive in this is that Springfield Summit and Millburn Fire Departments have automatic mutual aid right now between the three communities, so that will serve as a nice fit. And also that the fee being paid by Springfield to be a contract participant in Mountain Valley will pay for a quality assurance and quality control officer at the center, which will review calls, make sure that we are responding to not only first responders and handling those calls correctly, but also for residents and things like that. So that is a positive in all of that. Just want to give an update to the committee on Lot 5. A while back, the committee had authorized looking into Lot 5 and changing the entrance from its current location to move closer to Town Hall. We did receive a quote for that work, and that quote came in under the bid threshold. We were able to move forward with that project on August 24th. This will not have an impact to the current entrance exit. We will be opening up a new entrance exit. There will be an impact of 5 parking spaces, but once that new entrance exit is constructed, then they'll close off the old entrance exit into Lot 5. Also, part of that will be establishing blinking lights, pedestrian activated lights at the Dunkin' Donuts crosswalk. As the committee is aware, the timing of the lights for the Main Street intersections has been changed. It has now been programmed so that is a future scheduling of those Main Street lights in the event that after this month-long closure of Main Street, if the road closed in September or any other future date, that program can be established. And also, just by way of update, the work continues with regard to the lighting control authorized for Mazer to look at the lighting plan of the public downtown. So that work continues. I just wanted to give the committee those updates.
Alex, can I ask one question? I just want to make one clarification. So Lot 5, we're talking about Dunkin' Donuts, the entryway into Dunkin' Donuts. It's been a point of concern for many years. So now it's going to be moved further towards Town Hall, and hopefully that hazard will be taken care of.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure people understood where it was.
Correct. And just to add to that too, also that what was discussed at that meeting was trying a temporary fix of the flexible parking with the use of elongated planters in place of the bollards. We will also be doing a test of that. Public Works was supposed to do it this week. However, obviously with the storm, that is getting pushed back. But we'll just be doing a small test area by the lighting store, and that will be done hopefully early next week.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. Falcon, any reports?
Yes, ma'am. I have 2 matters. First is in connection with the declaratory judgment case. 2 mediations convened by Special Master Frank Banish, as ordered by Judge Gardner, were held with representatives of Woodmont Properties, and then the next day with representatives of the Fair Share Housing Center. The members of the Millburn Steering Committee are Committeewoman Paul Eglo, Committeeman Wasserman, Planning Board Chair Beth Zoll, Business Administrator Alex McDonald, Planning Board Attorney and Affordable Housing Council Ed Buzak, Township Planner Cole Phillips, and me. The issues discussed will be reported to Judge Gardner at an upcoming case management conference. The steering committee will meet in closed session following this meeting with the full Township Committee to discuss both matters. The second item has to do with a question which was posed to me at the last meeting concerning whether participation in the consideration and voting on the Special Improvement District ordinance is a conflict of interest on the part of Deputy Mayor Prupus in light of her ownership and operation of a business in the downtown business district within the Special Improvement District. Now, the law pertaining to conflict of interest is quite expansive, and it's obviously designed to ensure that government is carried out in an honest and straightforward manner. The courts have interpreted these obligations to avoid conflict of interest in many cases. I won't cite them all, but generally stated, it was a 1958 Supreme Court case that said local governments would be seriously handicapped if every possible interest, no matter how remote or speculative, would serve as a disqualification of an individual. The court should scrutinize the circumstances with great care and should condemn anything which indicates the likelihood of corruption or favoritism. But in doing so, they must also be mindful that to abrogate a municipal action at the suggestion that some nebulous interest is present would be unjustifiably to deprive the municipality in many important instances of the services of its duly elected appointed officials. Consistent with that case law, there's a specific provision in the New Jersey Local Government Ethics Law, which provides as follows. No local government officer shall be deemed in conflict with these provisions if by reason of his participation in the enactment of any ordinance, resolution, or other matter required to be voted upon, no material or monetary gain accrues to him as a member of any business, profession, occupation, or group to any greater extent than any gain could reasonably be expected to accrue to any other member of such business, profession, occupation, or group. This means that the enactment of laws of general application involving businesses or group in an affected area who are similarly situated does not require recusal of an elected official owning property, operating a business, or otherwise, where no material or monetary gain accrues to him or her to any greater extent than could reasonably be expected to accrue to any other member of the group. Now, we know from common experience that elected officials are regularly called upon to deliberate on and vote upon actions affecting the community in which they live and where they may work. They vote to raise taxes, including their own. They vote to regulate the zoning of property in residential areas where their own residential property exists. And as recently considered under a possible future enactment of an ordinance, they may vote on ordinance amendments to authorize the use of residential premises, theirs included, for short-term rentals. And a recent comparable example involving the Historic Preservation District should, I think, be brought to mind. The Historic Preservation Ordinance was adopted in 1987 and has been amended a few times. Most recently, in 2016, it was the subject of a comprehensive revision. Not surprisingly, and undoubtedly has been the case over the 33 years that it's been on the books, a member of the Township Committee, Committeewoman Burstein, voted on the ordinance while being an owner of residential property within the historic district. In accordance with law, she was entitled to vote, notwithstanding ownership of property, because the ordinance was a general enactment affecting hundreds of properties, and she could not reasonably be expected to realize any benefit to any greater extent than any other owner of any of the regulated properties in the district. On inquiry, I'm informed that there are hundreds of properties and businesses located in the Special Improvement District. Therefore, Deputy Mayor Prupus shares with hundreds of others the potential benefit, or, depending upon one's point of view, the detriment, which could follow implementation of the SID ordinance, but importantly, to no greater or lesser extent than could reasonably be expected to accrue to any other member of that group. This is kind of parenthetical, but if you think about it, if the rule were, as has been advanced here, that she would be disqualified, then no resident of the township who owns property in the business district could ever run for township committee on a platform of wanting to improve business conditions and arrive there and vote on and foster the very things that he or she had run on as part of their campaign. That would be an example of the type of a disadvantage to local government remarked upon in these cases. In this context, as well as others, it would deprive the governing body of the precise type of knowledge and expertise that could be brought to bear on its deliberations and be helpful in taking appropriate actions. In summary, in analyzing whether there's a conflict of interest or even an appearance of conflict, and Deputy Mayor Krupp is participating in the deliberation and voting on the Special Improvement District enabling ordinance because she owned a business in the district. The statute I referred to and the case law include that there is not a disqualifying conflict of interest. Thank you.
Is there a copy of that brief that could be made available to the members of the public? I don't think he did that without notes. I kind of think he was reading something that he wrote. It'd be very helpful if we could see it.
Excuse me,
so we
excuse
can
me,
prepare an
excuse me,
opposition
excuse
to it.
me. Could you come to the microphone?
Certainly. Good
State
evening.
your name.
My name is Andrew Lane. I'm an attorney at law, licensed by the state of New Jersey. That was a fascinating piece of advocacy, but he cites law, he cites cases, he forms conclusions. In the interest of justice, fairness, and all of the principles that he suggested should govern a body of this type, we should have an opportunity to review it and respond. He cites a case from 1958. That's older than a lot of people in this room. There's been a lot of law since then. It would be good if we had the opportunity to read, review, examine, and respond.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
I would like Mr. Falcon to respond.
He didn't hear you.
Kit, did you hear the statement of Mr. Lane?
Yes, I'd be happy to provide him with the cases and the citation.
I'd like to see the whole brief that he just read aloud.
So Mayor, if I may, we received an email of that. It's about 4 pages. Would we be able to share that now that it's been read publicly by our attorney?
I will defer
Yeah,
to.
that is not a privileged document.
Okay, so Alex,
Since I just read the contents of it, or largely, you can share that with Mr. Lane
Great.
at some point.
Well, we will make that available to you.
It should be, man, in addition to providing it, which is a very nice first step, we need time to review it. I would like an opportunity to respond to it. I'd like to be able to examine the law that he is relying upon to form the conclusion that a member of the voting body to approve or perhaps disapprove this is somehow or another not going to be in violation of either the spirit or the letter of the laws that are applicable. I can't do that in 5 minutes.
You can come to the next meeting.
No, it'll probably take you some time.
Yes, I agree.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's a pandemic. A lot of us have a lot of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can help you by giving you my copy, Mr. Lane, since it's going to be made available. You're welcome.
Public comment. When invited to speak, please stand in front of the microphones. Clearly state, right? Clearly state your name and address and speak loudly so that your comments may be understood by all and properly recorded. We have a lot of residents that would like to participate in this evening's meeting, and we will limit all comments to one opportunity, 3 minutes. There was a properly noticed call-in option for those who could not attend. If you're watching via YouTube and like to comment, the phone number is 339-209-5899. Press *6. All members of the public wishing to speak will be put in a queue to address the committee. Please be aware that this time limit will be strictly enforced. Please state your name and address so your comments may be properly recorded. Whenever an audience or committee member reads from a prepared statement, please email a copy to the township clerk. To help facilitate an orderly meeting, speakers, as I mentioned, 1 3-minute session. Please be patient and we will address each member of the public that wishes to speak. This current public comment period is meant to address only those items that do not have their own public hearing later in the agenda. That includes the bid SID discussion and the zoning ordinance. I will now open the public comment period for those items that are not previously mentioned.
So can you just clarify the phone number that's on the agenda? It's the same number everybody can call into on YouTube? Is it the same phone number? Because there's a mix-up about that, and people are trying to get on, and they can't hear. So who addresses that issue?
There's one phone number.
Okay, so the number is 339-209-5899?
Correct.
And then on YouTube,
There's no
is there a
YouTube,
chat
no-
going on?
No YouTube option. YouTube is a live stream that people can watch.
So it's only to be watched, nobody can comment or chat on YouTube? Okay, so can you make an announcement? How's the queue set up? Is it coming from you?
Yep. We have about 20 people on the call, and then 3 people that have raised their hand virtually.
Thank you for the clarification.
So Alex, somebody just texted me they can't hear you. Is there a way to slide the microphones down and I can give you this microphone since
Can't hear me?
can't hear you? You have no. Can we all shift our microphones down?
I'll actually use this microphone.
You have one? Oh, perfect.
If not, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Public comment portion.
The public comment with respect to the bid SID will come on later in the agenda. This right now is other public comment about any other issues, maybe perhaps the storm or something else that somebody would like to share with the community.
So not the ordinances?
Not yet.
Okay.
Can we comment on what Mr. Falcon just said? Yes, no?
It's public comment. You can comment on anything but the ordinances that are listed below.
Okay.
Absolutely, Perry.
Go ahead.
Is that me buzzing?
3 minutes, sir, please.
I have comments for the ordinance later, though. I can still talk about that later?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Kenneth Gerard. I live at 506.
You have to talk louder because of the
Oh,
the
yeah.
mask.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Kenneth Gerard, 506 Millburn Avenue, Short Hills. I'm an attorney, licensed to practice law in New Jersey for 39 years. I represent the following 3 property owners: Bear Properties Management, LLC, 514 Millburn Avenue, LLC, and 508 Millburn Avenue, LLC. I want to comment upon what Mr. Falcon has said. I'm not going to argue the case with him, but he did not quote, as he's quoted cases, he did not quote some of the other cases. Here's the point. It's not something that Mr. Falcon can dictate whether or not there's a conflict of interest for Ms. Prupus and this board and voting on these ordinances. That is the subject that has been brought before the New Jersey. I'll get it sooner or later. It's sorry. Yeah.
An ethics complaint submitted to the state.
That's it. He knows about it, right. It's the ethics complaint that's been submitted to the state state has 30 days to even give us a response. I didn't do the complaint, but somebody else did. But I filed a lawsuit yesterday in the equity division of the Chancery division, and that's one of the issues, is whether or not there's a conflict of interest. So therefore, consistent with what Ms. Eglo said, this vote shouldn't be taking place because we do not have a resolution of whether there was a conflict of interest. There will be a resolution by either the state or by the court or both that we will have to live with, whatever it is, unless it's appealable. But right now, it's just one of the many reasons that you cited, Ms. Eglo, that vote should not take place. Besides the fact that other people can't get here or can't hear or whatever. But that's what I'm talking about now, is only the conflict of interest. it's contested. So, yes, he has his opinion, and I understand that will be probably the defense. But a defense is not viable or judgment, or not a judgment until the court says so or until the state says so.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll let Kit respond.
Mr. Falcon, do you want to take that on, please?
Yeah, I disagree. I think I've given you advice. We're
Yep.
entitled to proceed. If the gentleman wishes, or I guess he's filed a lawsuit to contest your having done so, then that will come before the court, and the court will decide whether what you did.
Well, that's the whole point. The court will decide. The court will decide, and then if the court decides that there is a conflict, then the vote will be...
Wait. Mr. Falcon is speaking. We cannot have a conversation. Please, we afforded you the courtesy. Please allow Mr. Falcon to speak.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Kit.
Oh, the point I was trying to make was that there's no obligation on your part to refrain from taking action because an allegation has been made that it's inappropriate or against the law or something. That's why the courthouse is there. If you take action, and I gather the gentleman has filed a lawsuit, the court will determine whether or not you did the right thing. But you don't have to refrain from proceeding because a lawsuit has been filed.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
That is correct, except for the fact that if the decision comes down to that there was a conflict of interest, then that vote will be overturned, and you'll have to do it all over again.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything else to say with respect to items that were not, that will not be discussed later on?
I have a question.
Yes.
The TC serve?
Please stand up. Nancy, go ahead.
Nancy Stone. I have a question. Has the TC been served?
Papers were served on the TC, but it's an order to show cause that has to still be signed by the court.
So nobody knows about this lawsuit?
The township received service today.
Oh, so you do know about it? Okay, because I was.
We received it at 3 o'clock today.
Oh, okay.
We received it at 10 o'clock this morning.
10 o'clock.
Just for clarification, you submitted an application for an order to show cause.
Yes.
Mr. Falcon, in order to show cause, as officers of the court, you were served? You have copies of the order to show cause?
I have nothing.
All right.
I learned minutes before this meeting that a lawsuit had been filed.
All right. The
So,
township was served.
We'll proceed, and if in fact that
You're going to proceed in the
Correct.
face of
Yes.
a superior court order to show cause, commanding that you provide proof that you have complied with the order to show cause.
I'm gonna
Has the
follow.
order to show cause been signed by a judge?
Has not yet been signed, it'll be
Okay.
signed tomorrow.
All right.
All right, I mean, look,
We're
I
gonna
understand that.
proceed. We're gonna proceed with our meeting this evening.
All right.
You have been addressed, and I appreciate your comments. And now let us continue.
All right, so
Thank
all
you.
the appearances of appropriate conduct, the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic, on the heels of the storm, we're not going to delay this
We are
1
not going
second.
to delay.
Not
No, we
1
are not.
second.
No, we are not.
With an order to show cause in
We
Superior
are not,
Court.
we do not, as the gentleman said, we do not have a judge sign order. We were going to proceed with this business
Do
meeting.
we know for
Thank
a
you.
fact at this moment that it's not signed?
Yes, I hope that it's like at 5 o'clock.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, may I ask a question? May I ask a question of you and business and Kit? If the township was served, were the TC members, should they have been notified? Because I am just hearing about this for the very first time.
Yes, the township committee will be notified.
No,
However,
why were we not notified earlier?
Just got served.
Just got served today.
I know, but we are all equal people up here, mayor, deputy mayor, we are 5 committee members. If that came to your attention, should we not, including our attorney, have been notified at 10:15 this morning?
perhaps, but.
Perhaps. I'm shocked. I would like to have been notified, Alex and Kit and Mayor. I am actually, I've been shocked by a lot of things. All right, this is
Diane,
noted.
okay,
Done.
we're
Let's move
going to
on.
proceed now. Is there any other comments from the public?
The point has been made, thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Mayor, we have two on the phone call, then there's a couple people in the back that may want to.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello?
Yep, you go ahead and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I could barely hear all of you. It's very, very hard to hear. Okay. My name's Brandy Lipton, and I presently live in Kenilworth, New Jersey, and I'm currently in negotiations with the landlord of 506 Millburn Avenue to open a newly established business, at this point relating to pets. I was made aware of a new ordinance that is in the process of being voted on. As a tenant, my responsibility stated in the lease would encompass rent, property tax, and utilities, normal triple net lease. Now the assessment tax defined as a special improvement tax for commercial properties may be my responsibility as well. So what does this special improvement tax entail? What exactly are the funds being used for? Where will they be used? How will they be used? The public has the right to this information, and nobody in the right mind would sign anything with open-ended dollar amounts or terms. It is extremely difficult to negotiate lease terms based on an assessment tax amount which has yet to be determined or confirmed. The landlord doesn't know if they will absorb this tax or defer to the tenant, which will be me. I cannot, nor will I agree to the unknown, especially when it involves my money. The landlord can't even tell me if this tax will be included in my rent. So I'm just starting out. This would add extreme financial burden, considering I don't have unlimited funds to put towards this new endeavor in an already unstable economy. The landlord has expressed they are not in favor of this, they're fully opposing this ordinance. So how can the landlord rent or sell property to potential tenants without any knowledge of tax details now or in the future? This is definitely a deterrent and a possible deal breaker to me. No sane person will put their name on or sign any legal document or lease without a detailed and accurate breakdown of monetary responsibilities. To be put in a position to where this is even a stipulation in negotiating a lease is unreasonable and preposterous. I've explored options in surrounding towns with similar vacancies to chose Millburn, as it is more appealing to me and best for my business concerns, and the location provides rear entrance, parking lot, and a full basement. So to add to the unnecessary or additional taxes and burden on renters, when most of the country is without fully open businesses, struggling to survive or have no income, these potential taxes are absurd, especially being unknown or hidden from the public eye. If the landlord can't provide concrete information regarding these taxes, the likelihood of me renting the property is slim to none. I would like to know the amount of the proposed assessment tax, and will it be capped or will it be subject to annual increases like other property taxes? Without this confirmed information, I refuse to put my name on a lease with open-ended subject to change provisions. And for the above reasons and concerns, the probability of me walking away from this exciting prospect in this fabulous neighborhood is just about final and very disheartening. So I hope the decision turns out favorable in my case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I had trouble understanding what she was saying, unfortunately.
She basically said she won't sign a lease without knowing what her future expenses are going to be because of the SID, whether it's going to be continually raised.
I don't think we need a translation here. We don't need a translation from you.
Yeah,
I
heard
we
it.
have other people on the phone.
Okay, then we have,
Hold on.
This is
no, please,
You're-
order.
you're out of
No,
order, sir.
Sir, you've already spoken. We have another person
We
waiting.
have another person that wants to
We have
speak.
another person waiting in the queue.
I have to say, I had a very hard time understanding her.
Right.
Very hard to, it sounded very garbled to me.
Yeah.
So we have to do something where we can understand our constituents.
Right. Or I,
Okay, let's hear the other.
This is the next line, the next caller.
And it should not be about these two
Yeah,
listed
and
ordinances. Let's
do
just
they know
stay
that
on
the
the
bid-
agenda.
Yeah.
The bid and
Mayor's
the,
meeting.
Yeah.
I'll just bring them on the
Yeah,
line.
yep. Hello?
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 Yes, you go ahead with your question or comment.
Is this related to the bid,
can you hear
excuse
me?
me, is this related to the bid, SID, or the other ordinance, the zoning ordinance? Your
Yes,
question?
it is. This is, I'm calling on behalf of my parents. My name is Jennifer Hopkins, and I grew up on Short Hills Avenue, and I wish to read a letter that they sent this morning to our committee members, the administrators, and the town clerk. They were unable to attend this evening as my dad is a first responder paramedic at Overlook Hospital and is currently on duty. They asked for me to ensure that their letter was heard at tonight's meeting, as they are very upset on this matter. Dear Millburn Township Committee members, I've been a township resident for over 65 years. For the past 36 years, I've resided at 65 Short Hills Avenue. Moving in, I was aware that I was moving in across from the church and knowingly purchased my present home. My wife and I have researched and become aware of an ordinance in place that would protect my family, our property, and our quality of life. For 36 years, we have thoroughly enjoyed our home and our neighborhood and raised our family here. I am now aware that you are now attempting to take away a protective barrier of 125 feet that had been in place for decades. This ordinance was intended to protect the residents whose backyards abut businesses on Millburn Avenue from the negative impact that food establishments would impose on a residential area. I respectfully ask you to vote no on this change and instead choose to protect the residential areas the township master plan requires. Thank you, Ron and Marcia Jacobs.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your comment.
Thank you.
Oh, it's checking.
Okay.
Capacity in this room.
Alex, can you send us the microphone?
We're at capacity in this room, so we want to make sure that people that are overflowed in the back conference room may not want to make a comment during the general public comment. Jimmy's checking.
Thank you, Ron and Marcia Jacobs.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say, somebody just texted me, using the number you sent out on work phones won't let me dial in, goes to an answering machine.
We didn't see the message that went out on work moms. The
Well, it was
message
the
that
one
was,
that
the
was on
message
the
that,
township committee.
I believe you, Nancy, but the message that was on the
I'll
township.
send it out again, the one that's on the township.
Nancy.
agenda. That's my name.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, we have one more call and she was in the back room.
Okay. Let me just ask you, is this with respect to the bid, SID ordinance or the zoning?
No.
order? Yes. Please proceed.
Keep it on?
Yes, please.
My name is Lisa Reppert. I'm from the law firm of Reppert, Kelly and Vitale. I'm here to make a comment just about the acoustics in the room. One, I think that you should consider when you have these important types of things on the agenda, that it be done at the high school, where you have a bigger room and better acoustics. I am sitting in the other room right now, listening in, and I'm hearing complaints from people on the phone. You can barely hear all of you. It's muffled. And then I'm also hearing you all say, you can't hear what the people on the phone are saying. And that really is upsetting because you're setting forth a record, and we want the elected officials to hear the attorneys, to hear the representatives here in town. So I, strongly want this to be reflected on the record. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, on the issue of the size of the room, the governor formerly had an executive order out which allowed up to 100 people or 25% of the capacity of the room, whichever was less. But he revised that now so that the maximum number of people who can be in a meeting room is 25. It wouldn't matter if you moved to the high school, you'd still only be allowed under the most recent executive order to have 25 people in attendance. So the size of the room, it happens that you have a room that has a capacity of 100, so 25 is the number.
Well, excuse me,
Thank-
what about
thank
the
you.
tent in Millburn parking lot? How
No,
about
no.
the outdoor tent that you provided?
Standard.
Let's use the tents that you provided.
There's more than 25 people at the standard.
We're not discussing. Continue, Mr. Falcon. Next comment, please.
Cover, open air, electricity. You put 200.
Hello?
How about the football field?
Ms.
The
Urso.
stadium.
Hello?
Yes, can I make a statement?
Yes, you go ahead. Please provide your name and address.
This is for the bid SID, right?
No, that we will be discussing the bid SID later on the meeting's agenda. Not at this.
Okay, thank you.
Harry, you're out of order.
Harry. Richard. This is a business meeting. If you continue, anyone that is disrespectful will be asked to leave. Thank you.
That's it for now.
That's it for now. Okay.
Q&A session is over.
I'm sorry, is that something else?
There was a comment back there.
I think there may be one more.
One more? Okay.
You have to come to the microphone.
Hi, Gail Levy, and I'm a property owner at 391 Millburn Avenue. And my tenant is a yoga studio. And it was wonderful that you guys have opened up the yoga and all of the exercise so everybody can go outside and do that so that they can bring business in. So I'm just asking if you could have into consideration that you would continue that into September, October, and as long as we possibly can, so these guys can earn a living. So, because they're loving it, they're getting a really good response, and it's amazing.
Thank you for
So,
your
thank
comments. I will now close the public comment period. The committee will now consider consent agenda resolution items 20-151 through 20-161. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to items listed on the consent agenda?
No.
No.
I have none, Mayor.
Cheryl, do you have any questions? Committeewoman Burstein, do you have any questions on the consent agenda items?
She's on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. No.
Any member of the public that would like to comment on the consent agenda items? May I have a motion to approve Resolution 20-151 through 20-161, which are listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Burstein?
Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Ms. Saul Eglo?
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mayor Lieberberg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 20-164. This authorizes the petition to the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities to undertake an independent investigation to be followed by public proceedings and the taking of public comment and evidence to determine the adequacy of the emergency planning and response activities related to the recent storm events and further planned expenditures for infrastructure improvements and upgrades by JCP&L. Alex, I'm going to let you walk us through this, please.
It's pretty simple. You explained it in your report, Mayor. You know what the township experienced in JCP&L's response to her tropical storm Isaias. They did not. Communication was lacking. I think communication was inconsistent with from municipality to municipality. On a call with JCP&L officials, we had asked that communication be consistent, because what occurs then is that residents see a mayor in another town say, you know, they've gotten this information, while that information is not being provided to other communities. I think that we've gone through this exercise after Irene, Snowtober, and also you know, Hurricane Sandy. We've consistently had to deal with JCP&L's infrastructure issues, and I think that you know, this is a first step from the township committee and the township as a whole to start to ask the necessary questions, make the complaints that are necessary to bring JCP&L to task.
Thank you.
May I make a comment before we vote on this, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to disparage, name call, or stick up for JCP&L. I don't know if JCP&L fared better or worse than PSE&G. I know Millburn Township, I did a little digging, had 15 polls down. I don't know if JCP&L rep what they've spoken to you or not, because that's just Jackie's position to speak to them. I know that they just posted today that 8,000 workers were sent to the area. There are many contributing factors, such as live wires. We've all seen this online. They have to address the live wires before anybody can go in there and touch anything. I saw this online, and it was interesting. It says, this person who wrote it said, it's not possible to build any infrastructure that is Mother Nature proof. The storms that have hit New Jersey in the past 10 years, 3 of which my house were absolutely impacted, 4 feet of water twice. Since Floyd, these were all 100-year events. They caused unprecedented damages in hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't think name-calling and calling them pathetic, Committeeman Wasserman, is very professional. And as you said, you're about to pass a resolution. Let the BPU take this where it needs to go. But I think that we can almost also thank PSE&G for gathering 8,000 workers to get our people up faster than they did during Hurricane Sandy. And again, I will reiterate why we should not be holding such an important meeting tonight. So that is my feelings on what happened. I don't have the details. I am not privy to the OEM and what goes on, but I saw a lot of communication coming from JCP&L with numbers constantly being added. So I just want to say that I'm not going to disparage. I'm not going to stick up for it. I don't have enough information to go that route, and I'm not really, going that.
Well, I can assure you that their communication is even noted by one of their representatives was not up to the high standards that they would have liked to be associated with respect to Millburn's issues. Millburn's, the attentiveness to Millburn and Millburn residents. So I believe this resolution will begin to start the dialogue to address this. These storms are happening more and more frequently, unfortunately, that we're all experiencing. They had a heads up, they had some lead time on this, and that I think the infrastructure issues have to be addressed so that we as a community can get ahead of it and make sure that our residents are safe and that our roads are safe for travel. And I think that's the most important thing that we should be focusing on as an advocate for our residents.
Absolutely. I'm not finished, Committeeman Wasserman. I think DPW has done an amazing job in pre-cutting down trees. I know they were in my neighborhood before. I think that when people say, let's spend millions of dollars to put wires underground, there's still transformers or whatever those things are. Wait, Committeeman, Mayor, I'm speaking for a moment, please. That I think there's still, this would never be foolproof. And I think we've been, to some people's chagrin, cutting down trees. And I think that we live in a very old community, and it's just something that we have to deal with. And I think JCP&L and PSE&G were probably in the same exact situation. But as you say, you have decided to put this resolution together, so we'll see where this takes us.
Great. Thank you.
Let's keep moving.
He's out of order.
No.
He's out of order.
Why not?
No, we're going to proceed with the meeting. Thank you.
Are we going to also examine our own response by our own police?
Yeah, that as a community, we will be doing that. Thank you.
I didn't see anybody in my neighborhood at all from the township. And we had to direct our own traffic so that the utility workers could do their job. Why wasn't Millburn mobilizing people to help direct the traffic so that the utility workers could do their job?
Can I move the resolution?
Yes.
Okay, I move the resolution.
I second.
Roll call, please.
That's dismissive.
Ms. Burstein?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Ms. Eglo?
No.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mayor Lieberberg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Before we proceed, I'd like to make a statement. With respect to the second reading and the consideration of the next ordinance.
I'm gonna,
I'm sorry, we need to address
the bond ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the
I'm
audit.
sorry. I skipped ahead. Excuse me. Receipt of the 2019 audit. My apologies. Sorry. Copies of the audit in full are available in Town Hall. We have placed a copy of the audit on the table tonight if anyone is interested in reviewing it. Our auditor is available this evening. If there are any questions with respect to the audit, are there any members of the public that have a comment with respect to the audit?
But you may just want to let Valerie speak.
Yes. Hello, Valerie.
I don't think she heard it.
Yeah. Valerie, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. I just wanted to say once again that it was a pleasure to complete the audit for the township. Couple of key things to remember when you're looking at the audit, you're reviewing it. Obviously, it's the presentation of the financial records as of December of 2019. Obviously, a lot has happened since 2019. So even the delays in the audits occurred during the COVID period. All in all, it is a very clean audit. Your fund balance in the current fund was about $13.7 million, which is an increase of about $1.5 million from last year. It was really related to some increased interest earnings that were budgeted for, along with some non-budgeted revenue that came in. Your tax collection rate sits at over 99%. All of the report, actually this year you don't even have to do a corrective action plan because there are no comments or recommendations formally included in this report. So it is a very good, clean report, and once again, we're happy in the opportunity to work with the township.
Thank you. My hope and expectation is when we do this next year, you'll have a similar point of view.
Yep, and only thing will be that it'll hopefully be much earlier in your year.
Yes.
Instead of a delay.
Yep, yes. Thank you very much, Valerie.
Anytime.
Before we proceed with ordinance and the second reading of 2558.
I have to do my bond.
Oh, yeah, wait.
Oh, we did that.
Oh, we have to, I'm sorry.
Yep. You just said you accept the audit.
Are there any final comments or questions from the committee pertaining to the audit?
No.
No.
May I have a motion to approve Resolution 20-162?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Burstein?
Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Ms. Eglo?
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mayor Lieberberg?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a brief statement. Third time the charm. It is my understanding that committee members and staff may be asked to read public statements into the record for individuals. They may not be able to attend the meeting for any number of reasons. This practice should not be encouraged by this committee or our staff for numerous reasons. For one, the township has provided the opportunity for the public to participate in both in-person and via conference call. This is not a sustainable practice. Even in light of the circumstances, there will always be people who are on vacation or have other obligations. In many cases, we have already received the correspondence from residents that email us their thoughts, viewpoints, or stance on a particular policy matter. I am very concerned that the committee will become an end around to active participation. My last concern is that as committee members, we do not know what a person's viewpoint has changed on a particular subject. We run the risk of using our position to espouse someone else's viewpoint that very well may have changed. Do we only read into the record those that we cannot attend and agree with our position on the matter? Must we read anything into the record that is asked of us? It's a slippery slope, and it needs to be addressed. We are the governing body elected by the township residents to take public comment, written correspondence, and conversation to our constituents into account when making policy decisions. But I do not believe we should be using this dais to read verbatim correspondence in the absence of a resident to voice their own opinion or viewpoint at a prescribed time. Thank you. We will now proceed. Ordinance 2558-20.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 2558-20. Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the Township of Millburn in the County of Essex, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1,408,999 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bonds anticipation notes in the anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Alex?
Yes. This particular ordinance is our bond ordinance, in which we have several projects associated with. This is generally sort of the
Oh, wait, let me.
This is stuff that we go out to what's called a bond anticipation note. These are projects that generally include grant funding associated with them. For instance, our NJDOT road projects each year are funded through a bond anticipation note, which is something that can be paid off over 10 years. However, we generally do pay off our debt obligation prior to that, or if it is a grant, it is refunded to that ordinance. In particular, this year we are putting Slayton Drive on for our NJDOT grant. We also have some funding for pump station repairs and things like that. So.
Thank you. Tonight is time set forth the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with the law. You declare open.
I declare the hearing open.
I move that this public hearing, oh. Did someone want to say something? No?
I think that was a mistake.
Okay, got it. I move that this public hearing, maybe it's the echo. I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Burstein?
Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Ms. Eglo?
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mayor Lieberberg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Eglo, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2559-20.
Thank you. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 2559-20. Capital Ordinance of the Township of Millburn in the County of Essex, New Jersey, authorizing the making of various public improvements and acquisitions in, by, and for the township, appropriating therefore the sum of $1,222,000, and providing that that sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the township. And what is in here are acquisition for the fire department, one being a traffic signal control system, which is something they had many, many years ago. And when Complete Streets came back and was causing some traffic problems, they came to the committee and asked for that. And very luckily, the price has gone down substantially since their first request. Department of Public Works machinery, recreation, this is great. A new playground at Taylor Park, that's pretty old. Resurfacing of the tennis courts at Slayton Field. General building improvements, resurfacing, seal coating, micro paving various roads, and the police department, and that comes to $1,222,000. And is there anything you want to add to that, Alex?
No, I just state that this, unlike the last ordinance, is budgeted funds through the capital improvement fund.
Okay. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
Comments?
We have one on the phone.
Yep.
Hello? They went off.
Okay.
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
So moved.
May I have a roll call vote?
For a second.
Ms. Burstein?
Yes.
Ms. Burstein?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Prupus?
Yes.
Ms. Paul Eglo?
Yes.
Mr. Wasserman?
Yes.
Mayor Lieberberg?
Yes.
Thank you.
I present for consideration ordinance titled 2561. This is the ordinance creating a special improvement district within the Township of Millburn and designating a district management corporation. The purpose of this ordinance is to substantially revise and update Ordinance 12-92, redefine the boundaries of Millburn's Special Improvement District, designate a new DMC with new guidelines and restrictions, establish an advisory board, and establish that the DMC shall have the purpose of encouraging economic development of the Township Special Improvement District. I believe that a new Okay. I believe that a new district management corporation will be responsible for helping to attract new businesses, assist them with the onboarding and navigating through the requisite permits and approval process. And by being housed inside of Town Hall, they will have direct access to all the departments: zoning, planning, engineering, and can help to expedite the process, drive efficiencies, and potentially reduce costs to new businesses. The director will work very closely with the Board of Trustees in the township and will be responsible for specialty programming and marketing initiatives and act as a catalyst for economic vitality of the businesses as well as community engagement. I believe that this is an essential addition for Millburn Short Hills. The municipality cannot legally do what a bid can do. They cannot give grants, nor can they provide direct assistance for profit businesses. Please.
I'm wondering why you're out of order on the number. I'm waiting for 2560 and you went to 61. So that's what I was trying to figure out, if I missed something or if you're just
That's a restaurant. That's a restaurant.
That's
We're in order.
we're
not
the
in
or
numeric
we're not
order.
it's not in numeric order.
Not a typo.
No. The ordinance, the agenda, I will proceed.
You're doing them out of order.
We're
Is it-
doing as
excuse-
listed on the agenda.
As it's listed on the agenda.
We're used to
It's,
chronological.
order, please. I believe that this is essential addition for Millburn Short Hills. The municipality cannot legally do what a bid can do. They cannot give grants, nor can they provide direct assistance to for-profit businesses. The function of the bid is a focused advocacy for the business community. Millburn Short Hills is not engaging in a unique entity. Every surrounding town has one and has demonstrated assistance to their businesses, especially during COVID. Cranford, Westfield, Summit, Livingston, to name a few. They provide landlord and tenant advocacy, write grants, special event planning, fundraising, resident engagement. Livingston's grant program was a welcome addition to small businesses during COVID. One of the potential byproducts that also should be mentioned is increased property values when businesses thrive. Another issue that has been discussed is the costs. During the remainder of 2020 and all of 2021, all out-of-pocket costs will be rigorously controlled. No major expenses will be incurred without the Township Committee's approval. All operating expenses, computer, phone, rent, tech support, will be resident and visitor participation. Now more than ever, this bid is a valuable contribution for all stakeholders.
Mayor,
Tonight,
go ahead.
Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage. I declare the final passage as advertised in accordance to the law. I declare the public hearing open. Do I hear from my committeemen first or the public first?
I think you can take the committee comments if you'd like.
Great.
And then move on.
Thank you.
Mayor, so I've been working with the mayor on this. At this point, I believe everyone knows how I feel about the creation of a new dynamic bid in Millburn. And I can list all of the important reasons for the creation of a bid. It will support and advocate for existing businesses and develop and implement a strategy to recruit new businesses in Millburn Township. It will develop and implement a dynamic engagement and marketing strategy to promote Millburn as an amazing place to shop, live, and open a business. It will provide outreach to property owners and commercial brokers about available retail space in Millburn. It will support commercial property values by working to eliminate vacancies. Lower commercial property values means less taxes from this sector and more taxes from residents. Why now? Why now? That's always the question. Look at the numbers. We currently have a staggering 17% vacancy rate in the township. That's actually 44 ground floor retail units. I've spoken to 2 different national retail experts, and both have told me that with our numbers, they will surely go up to 25 or 30% in the short term unless we take action in the form of a bid. That would mean that we'd have more than 65 vacancies or more. And the other thing I would point out is just look at what's going on in Millburn right now. Look at the corner of Millburn Avenue and Main Street where Kung Fu Tea just moved out of. That whole corner is now vacant. And as a resident who's lived here 30 years or over 30 years, excuse me, can I finish? Can I finish speaking, Nancy? What I was saying is that Kung Fu Tea moved, so that whole corner is vacant. I didn't say Kung Fu Tea went out of business. They did move, but that corner is now vacant, and that's a main corner in our township. So I really believe that we need to take some action right now. We have been clear that there's no tax for this bid until 2022, 16 months from now. The mayor and I are both pledging to do a full review of this endeavor before taxes are even instituted. Let me also dispel any rumors that our budget will be higher or there's extra taxes coming from this. Every dollar that goes towards this will support our businesses in our township. This is actually a really great investment in our future. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, we have assembled an amazing group of local residents, commercial property owners, and merchants who have stepped forward to make our bid a success. Let's join our neighboring towns like Livingston, Summit, South Orange, Maplewood, Morristown, Westfield, who've all benefited from having a bid. So, and I just want to say on a personal note, I know that there are many residents out there who don't think this is the right thing to do. And I just want to tell you that I hear you, I understand that, but I just also want you guys to know that we are committed to making this a success. And unless we take action right now, unless we really take action, come up with a plan to address this, we're going to have more and more vacancies. It's time to take action and give us a chance. Time now is to give us a chance. We have a great group of people working on this, and I would just say to people that are on the sideline or opposing this, give us a chance and even come and join us. Give us a chance and join us.
Were we invited to join?
Would any other committee?
Yes, I have a statement, Mayor. I have several items for clarification, but first and foremost, my concern is that I have not heard from one commercial property owner or merchant who is in favor of this ordinance to reinstate the bid by any name. This is substantiated because the mayor and Committeeman Wasserman have a list of commercial property owners they personally sought out and all declined to sit on the board. Many have been in town for 10, 20, 30 years, and all know from experience that what was the former SID, DMDA, was not effective, and they all feel this always was, and will be a further undue financial burden. Anytime, but especially now. They have not collected rent, yet their mortgages and their commercial taxes have to remain current. When this first came out, to quell the immediate opposition, the town offered to pay the executive director's salary for the first year, an unknown amount that the mayor believes will be between $80,000 and $100,000. I don't know why that is such a high starting salary. I then subsequently found out this person is entitled to town-paid medical insurance. Also, and this is really important because I'm not getting a lot of communication, I'm getting a lot of more surprises, I was under 100% certainty that this was for 1 year starting in 2021. Then the mayor declared this is of such urgent need, she pushed tonight's second read without the normal and customary meeting in between introduction and final adoption, meaning the town is now paying this undetermined salary for possibly 16 months. Then another surprise, Committeeman Wasserman announced at that special 8 a.m. meeting for merchants and property owners that we, the township, will also be footing the bill for any expenses and events up to the original SID, $200,000. That was never discussed at a TC meeting. It was never discussed with me. It seemed like an offhand remark from Committeeman, and that just added and committed the township to another large additional expense. I just want to say in closing, I have discussed an idea with Alex for several years, something I still endorse and would encourage over the SID at this time, that this could be an actual town hall employee who would have all the duties of the executive director that the mayor mentioned. This person would do full examination of the town's zoning and ordinances, compare that to other towns, report back to Alex, our town planner, planning board, board of adjustment, and see what needs are met and what need to be updated, like the next ordinance we'll be talking about. This person would serve as the liaison for prospective businesses and sit on the TRC, the Technical Review Committee, which we started last year. This person would attend the planning board meetings, the board of adjustment meetings. All these functions still paid for by the town, but most importantly, not tied and paid for by our commercial property owners who we so readily we want to help. You know, this is not, in my opinion, business friendly at this time, and a lot of the commercial property owners I've been speaking to, and I speak to them all the time, they said, yes, 2023. 2023. Not 20, not 21, not 22. I will let the other people speak, and then I will have my line items for the ordinance that I would see if the mayor and Committeeman Wasserman, who were on this subcommittee, can answer. So first I will give the floor back for now. Thank you. I don't want anybody kicked out on my account, please. I want you all here.
Is it mine? Am I up?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, so you also know that I think that this is not an appropriate time for bringing this. I think that a SID may make sense. I feel like you are skirting the statute by taking an ordinance that we currently have and expanding it beyond a footprint that it was ever envisioned. You're creating a SID that really is meant to support the downtown, and yet are charging all property owners. You don't have the support of your community. You're shoving something down people's throats because you all think that it's a good idea. And Mr. Gerard's letter to us or memo to us references the statute that says that there has to be a finding that it's in the best interest of the municipality and the public to create a special improvement district. Well, I don't think we had any findings. I don't think we did any studies. I think the fact that 3 committee people think it's a good idea is not a finding made. I think that we are violating the statute by doing this. I think you're not giving people an opportunity to speak. I think you're not giving people an opportunity to be heard. And I think that this is really ill-conceived at this time.
Thank you for your comments. Committeewoman Krupus, would you like to add anything?
No.
We will now proceed with public comment. I
Mayor?
declare the hearing.
No, I was going to say maybe worth repeating the phone number, and then also for those who are on the phone call, if they want to ask a question, there's a couple on there, just *6 if they're already on, but it might be worth repeating the number for those who want to tune in.
Can we ask everybody to speak up and speak clearly?
Yes. I would like to review the phone number for those that would like to call in for public comment. That number is 339-209-5899, *6. Okay, why don't we take some from the call-ins first?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, hi. Please state your name and address.
Yes, Alex Salzburg, Marion Avenue, Short Hills. I'm speaking only on my own behalf as a resident, private citizen of Millburn. I've seen the same vacancies for many years. What we see today when we drive on Millburn Avenue, both in downtown Millburn and in Short Hills, is a result of lack of attention to our retail areas. We already know what doing nothing looks like. I believe if we want change, if we want our town to look different, to attract people from all over the region, to have a robust economy, we must have an accountable organization to accomplish this goal. We need to start with a vision, a big vision. As a resident, I want people from 20 miles away to look forward to coming to Millburn, to eat and shop. Merchants should want that. Consequently, landlords should want that as well. I want people lined up to lease space here. I hope that's what other residents want, and I hope this is a vision that the members of the Township Council have. Eventually, we'll move out of our COVID situation. If we wait to do this, the towns that already have this infrastructure that is being proposed, as many surrounding towns do, we will be in a much stronger position. They will be in a much stronger position to build businesses that this town needs to flourish. With respect to the costs, I heard a number of $600. It sounds like it's for the entire property, for the entire year. The landlord should be dividing that pro rata on the number of square feet, which tenants, let's not overblow the cost of that proportion. I also want to add, as a resident, I would like to see our town council members treat each other more respectfully and publicly treat our elected officials respectfully. There's too much chaos in the world today. This isn't Washington. It's not Trenton. These are your neighbors who volunteer their time to do hard work, the people that live in this town. Please remember that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zaltzman. Mr. Homsey, are you?
Yep, there's one more.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hi.
Please say your name and address.
Yeah, this is Tracy Levine of 10 Norwood Terrace in Millburn. I'm speaking tonight as a longtime caring resident of Millburn. We moved here in 1996 and we raised our children here through the Millburn school system. And a key reason that brought us here was the thriving downtown. So I also have been really depressed in recent years about the many vacancies and the business closures. So to that end, I have helped coordinate various grassroots efforts over the past few years to support our local businesses, always in a collegial way that complemented the now defunct DMDA and the Chamber of Commerce. However, volunteers and grassroots efforts alone can definitely not solve this. There is a huge gap in our town, and if it's not filled, the situation is just going to get worse. And that gap is having an effective SID, Special Improvement District, or also known as a BID, Business Improvement District. When I've looked around and into communities in New Jersey and also beyond throughout the country that are known to be thriving and reinventing and succeeding, all of them have SIDs. And the key part of it is hiring a qualified, high-caliber executive director to help attract businesses, identify the strategic approaches to leverage our unique Millburn Short Hills wonderful treasures we have, but also with the changing retail environment and a cohesive marketing plan, events, applying for grants, and more. And I'm glad that our Millburn leaders have been able in these crazy times to identify funding through cost savings to relaunch the SID, hire the executive director. My understanding is it's up to $200,000 annually, which is 1/3 of 1%, 0.3% of the township budget. That there is no financial impact on commercial property owners or business owners until 16 months from now. And there is no impact on residential taxes. So that's 16 months to relaunch this and to try to turn things around. And it's also been stated that the SID can be disbanded for sound reason. And so I would definitely ask that the progress be evaluated by the late 2021, including getting input at that time from property owners and merchants before the financial assessment officially begins. But we cannot wait. We certainly cannot wait till 2023. If we do nothing, nothing changes. It's just going to get worse. So I hope that the Township Committee will vote yes, and I hope we can all help make our town a vibrant, relevant destination again for our residents and for visitors. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it from the phone calls.
Okay. Public comment. Please come to the podium, the virtual podium, state your name, address, and 3 minutes.
Kenneth Gerard, 506 Millburn Avenue, Short Hills. Ms. Burstein referred to my letter of August 4. You all have it. You've all read it. I'm assuming you all read it. You all have it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to make a couple of points. Firstly, those last two comments, those last two folks who talked, they're not going to pay the tax. It's not on them. They're residents. So it's very nice to say we want you to do this, that, and the other thing while someone else pays for it. It's the people who are paying for it over the course of the next several years who object to this because it's yet just another tax and spend scheme. You can say that it's only 1/3 of 1% or whatever, but as soon as somebody who needs more money, it's just like any other tax. It's just going to keep going up, and it's not going to do anything for those people who know how to run their business. They don't need somebody to tell them how to. The gas station doesn't need somebody to tell them how to run their business, or the doctor's office, or the. So the idea of getting people to do something for the town is not for their benefit. It's for whose benefit? It's for the people who have the idea, like yourselves, that this is a great thing to do. What it is a wish list. Because you say, well, we could be like Cranford, or we could be like whoever, Morristown, Summit. Sure we could, but we could already do that. We don't have to have a new tax yet to do that. It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. And besides that, it's nice to have an opinion, it's nice to have a wish list, but there has to be some facts to back it up, like it says in the statute. Special Improvement District ordinance may be adopted if the governing body of a municipality finds that it is in the best interest of the municipality and the public to create a special improvement district and to designate a district management corp. Okay, it's still a wish list. There's no proof, there's no evidence, there's no suggestion, there's no findings. There's been no a feasibility study, which is also permitted under the statute 40:56-70, and that a feasibility study will show estimates of costs, construction, maintenance, and potential gross benefit assessment. Right now, the businesses in town that I represent don't see that there's been any such evidence that's going to show how or what's going to happen to make them more profitable.
Thank you for your comments.
Still 20 seconds.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, yeah, you can-
The ordinance itself, in the findings section, a certain area within the township of Millburn, as described in this ordinance by lot and block numbers by street addresses, will benefit from being designated as a special improvement district. That conclusion is based on what? Certainly not the dozens of complaints against it. Certainly not by any evidence that was brought to bear for people to really get an idea of what this could possibly be, except the person who you're going to hire.
Additional comments?
Do you want to ask anybody that's in the waiting room if they want to switch?
There are some up to you, Mayor.
We can
whatever
do
order
that,
you want.
yeah, we can do that, or he's one after him.
Hello, my name's Carl Burwell. I'm the owner of Garden State Hemp, right on 327 Millburn Ave, one of the newer businesses in town. We opened up in November of last year, and I know my business is probably kind of controversial to a lot of people in town. I was here when you guys spoke to the potential dispensary in town, and I understand my business might be a little off-throwing, but nevertheless, I've had a huge success in Millburn as a CBD and hemp store, even closing for 90 days. And I'm actually in support of the SID for specific reasons. I'm new to town, so unlike a lot of the residents, I don't have any prior experience to any prior project you guys had or DMC that you might have had in the past and how it was successful or unsuccessful. But as a merchant, I do see the need for a lot more foot traffic in town. And for instance, when I was opening up my store, we went on a road show to Millburn, not Millburn, but Maplewood, Summit, and a lot of surrounding towns, and we got the same response when we told people we were opening in Millburn, and they said, "Why would you ever do it there? The town's not open for progress. It's not progressive. They're not going to accept you. The town's slightly kind of stuck in their old ways where they don't want a new business, especially CBD or hemp." And the reason we did open the store was for those exact reasons. There's a lot of potential in this town to revitalize the downtown, and we have seen, we've had 632 customers come to our store in the last 3 months, online and in the store, and a large portion of them are in Maplewood, South Orange, Westfield, and Morristown. So we're hoping to be one of those type of businesses that are a little bit newer, a little bit more controversial, for lack of a better term, and maybe bring in some of those outside businesses or some of those outside customers. And I think that's kind of what we need to look at for Millburn downtown, is different types of businesses that are a little bit newer. Might make it a little bit easier for all of us. Just another quick note, when I was coming to Millburn, same as when I was going to Montclair, Morristown, any town that I was looking to open up a store in, gave the township a letter explaining exactly what we were going to be, what we were going to be opening up. We didn't hear back from Millburn for 2.5 months. We heard back from Morristown in 3 weeks, Montclair in 3.5. Westfield responded to us within a week, but we didn't hear back from Millburn for 2.5. So that's just some of the experiences we've had. I love this town. I think you guys have a lot of potential to do a lot of great things. I'm so happy to be a part of it, and I hope we can get the downtown and all the business districts a little more revitalized and ready for business. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Nicholas Volpicelli, Overlook Terrace. As a partner in a strategy consulting firm, I've helped dozens of major corporations wrestle with their biggest business problems. And before I prescribe any solutions, I make sure I understand the problems by studying them. A lot like my friend Dr. Menon, who can't be here tonight, before he prescribes medicine, he understands the disease he's treating. Without a feasibility study, without some findings, it's not clear to me that this body understands the problems that the SID is intended to solve, and that it will indeed solve those problems. Is our downtown vacancy high because of taxes, because of lack of parking, because of regulation, or is it indeed, or something else, or is it indeed programming? And when you think about the programming I've seen, I love it as a resident, art fair and other street fairs, those don't help our businesses. Those help the folks who come in and set up their tent or set up their wagon. They don't help our businesses. That kind of programming is not helpful. I heard some very helpful ideas out of committee member Thal Eglo's potential employee of the town hall. I think that's an interesting idea worth exploring. So having failed to diagnose the problem, it's also not surprising that you failed to sell the solution, because you have no buy-in, very little buy-in from the business community. Right? We've heard one business owner. I have not heard very many others, and I've been out walking about and asking them. And we say the SID is going to be free for the first 16 months to the business owners, but it's not free. The residents are paying. And in a year where there's going to be a COVID-sized hole in the town budget, we heard from our auditor that our tax collection rate last year was 99%. That ain't happening this year, folks. There's going to be a big hole in the budget. To take on more obligation this year is a little bit dangerous. All right, and so I truly believe the SID as proposed, especially with the governance, hand-picked governance, not picked by the folks who are going to be paying the bills, is the wrong solution at the wrong time. Thank you.
Good evening. Elaine Becker, Brookhaven Way. I have read this. I haven't really studied it, but there are some things that really jump out. And one of the main things is that this whole board, we don't even know how they're chosen. Are they elected? They're handpicked by the township committee. This whole thing is going to be under the thumb of the township committee. Where's the independence? I think you ought to rethink how this is formulated, and maybe there's a better way to look at it. That's the main point I think. Also, there was something about every year the former SID had $160,000 every year that was passed on to the SID. But this seems to say, and I may be wrong, but it looks like the budget is looked at every year, and depending on what the budget is how much money they want to raise for the SID. I may be misunderstanding that, but that kind of jumped out at me. So anyway, I think it's not ready for prime time. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Perkel from Blaustein, Schultz and Blaustein. I've been in town 52 years. Very successful. We love the town. I'm not against most of the time anything that the town wants to do. I just think at this point it's being pushed down our throats rather than discussed and opened to more of the owners of the buildings and the business people in town. I think possibly this is a great idea, but at this stage of the game, I think you should just put it on the back burners for a little while, explain it to more of the people out there, and let them know what's really going on, because most of the merchants don't know. Most of the people who own properties don't really know what's going on. The $600 is not going to affect me. The whole idea of this thing being pushed down our throats is affecting me. And I think it's the wrong way of going about it. I think you have 3 votes to push it through. So no matter what I say or anybody else says tonight may not mean anything. But think about more of the people that are involved in this and get some more opinions. And maybe discuss it with more people, and maybe I'd like it. Right now I don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, members of the Township Committee, for your time. I'm Perry Urso, speaking as a property owner at 506 Millburn Avenue, merchant and resident. I will make sure that I've submitted this statement to the clerk. You have consistently ignored my comments, concerns, along with others during this process. If it weren't for my pleading to the Township Business Administrator, hoping that the Township would exercise the Governor's Executive Order 130, tax payment extension for May 2020 due to the government's closure, stressing our business is substantially suffering, and trying to work with tenants who are not because they cannot pay their rents, I would not be here today. Had I not tuned into the TC meeting in May to hear the Township's decisions regarding the tax extensions, to my surprise, a discussion mentioning the B3 came up, which immediately caught my attention. If it weren't for the mailings, many wouldn't know anything about the SID tax until they received a third tax bill: property tax, sewer tax, and now SID tax. Once the SID is placed in place, the Township will have total control not only of my property, but my business and the businesses of my tenants. This is a hard sell for even potential new tenants that could potentially be subject to the SID, depending on lease terms. In June, I received an offer from one of our vacancies below market rate, and one of the conditions were to terminate in 14 months. The TC meetings, due to the COVID, have been ultimately impossible, malfunctioning, limited capacity, and if you're fortunate enough to get on the meetings, the behavior of the majority of the TC continually shuts individuals out of the meetings with time restraints, commenting, "Thank you for your participation," leaving you frustrated with unanswered questions, as the one woman we could hardly hear that called in. After the June 16th, 2020 TC meeting, I stood by my comment to be heard and approached the mayor in person outside town municipal building, only to get lied to, laughed out, and reprimanded by the business administrator, pleading for a proper public meeting so we all can be heard and, if necessary, have representation. To be questioned by the business administrator, why would you need to have an attorney present? Well, it's simple. It's taxation without representation. When asked, how would you like, under the control of the SID, and come into your private home and dictate what they can and cannot do to your property, they did not respond. However, they felt threatened by this and filed an incident report against myself and 2 others. Is this what we can expect when we disagree with the powers of the SID? After 27 years in this community, I am disappointed by how I've been treated. Since I've mentioned, should we be afraid to speak up, voice our opinion, and let our voices be heard? From my experiences, absolutely yes. In fact, that the mayor refused to answer my questions on June 2nd, 2020 TC meeting as why she would not stand by her mayor's message from March 12th
Perry.
speaks 1,000 words.
Perry.
Unfortunately, today, still have not received a complete response from my questions submitted to this TC and or the attorney, as the mayor stated they would be addressed, with the exception of a few used under the SID facts on the website. Since I do not feel comfortable speaking with the majority of the TC, however, are very grateful for the few that have found the time. I find it upsetting, concerning, that as a property owner and a merchant, that you are all passing this ordinance for us, to help us, because you need it, because we need it more now than ever. We are not asking you for your help and to help us. Your decision to vote yes, especially during the pandemic, will greatly impact many commercial property owners or have been subjected to the SID and already paid an exorbitant amount of property taxes. When I previously asked, what are
Perry,
the commercial
you-
property
Perry.
owners getting for their
45 minutes.
Perry, finish your comments.
It was not answered. Your decision to vote yes is alarming without proper supporting facts. You have poorly presented this ordinance with actual facts. You have failed us all with the lack of evidence as to not only why we need this, but really how. There is no analysis, no surveys, no questionnaires. In fact, there is a proof of dissolution of the previous SID.
Perry, you have exceeded
There are
your time.
there are comments of opposition
That's
from
it.
many of the property owners with the expanded footprint, business community who will greatly be impacted by your vote tonight. It is not just only money, Madam Mayor, plus all that is attached to this ordinance. You are forcing this upon commercial property owners and their
Perry.
merchants who have been staples and nostalgic landmarks within this community
Perry,
for
you have now-
generations
you have
who
now
are managing
exceeded
to
your-
self-helping themselves, helping their tenants, being creative, reinventing their businesses on their own. Many have survived recessions, floods,
Thank you.
storms, power
Perry.
outages, vacancies, the mall, e-commerce, all without big government. And I am sure COVID will make the list. I have requested by way of
Perry.
Oprah the list of property owners notified with this ordinance, 2560-20 and 2561-20.
That's it.
I've also opened the volunteer interest form.
Perry.
No, you're not
Perry,
allowed to
no,
do
you-
that. We have other people who want to
Well, at
speak.
least
We have
start
a-
the clock again.
Yeah.
Then put the clock on, let's go. Put
Yeah.
the clock on.
We have other
Let's
people.
have
We have
some
other-
sense
We
of
want
order.
other, there are other people that want to speak.
For an hour, we
All
were
right,
tortured
all right.
last
Fair.
time.
I am-
Counting for an hour.
We have other people that
I'd
want to
We
speak.
have other
here.
people that would
I
like
would
to.
like to speak. My name is Lauren Percal. I'm a property owner at 516 Millburn Avenue, and I yield my time so that
wait.
Perry can read. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm grateful. The volunteer interest form, the proposed SID, were surprisingly only 13 that were interested. The preliminary list for the proposed DMC Board of Trustees, 7 members, plus the business administrator and Committeeman Wasserman. Unfortunately, under the law, the clerk has up to 7 days to answer any request. Therefore, the information was not available to me until I received it from other reliable sources. This information should have been made available to the public on the township website underneath the Special Improvement District section to show transparency and disclose all of the following information. To see that the subcommittee members, Mayor Lieberberg and Committeeman Mr. Wasserman, have placed themselves on this board, but actively seeking candidates by pounding the pavement to fill the remainder of the Board of Trustees position for the DMC. Surprisingly, 2 out of the 9 which were contacted were from the expanded footprint of 72 property owners and 49 merchants, which would be consistent of Upper Millburn Avenue, Chatham Road, and Morris Turnpike. 2 have declined the subcommittee offer. The denial would appear to show that there are also oppositions to this ordinance, however, not willing to take a public stance, and I respect them and their position, as you all should. I find it strikingly interesting that your prepared DMC Board of Trustee, which is already prepared to be signed and sealed, all the members on that list are downtown. I'd like to reference your choice of the following reasons. Jackie Benjamin Lieberman, considering your term is up at 2020, would your home-based business benefit from the position? And would the Township Committee consider to include home-based businesses within the SID? Nigel Nicole, property owner merchant, bookhouse for 2 or so years, downtown. Andrew Morgan, property owner merchant, community staple of 3 generations, downtown. Stephen Weiner, merchant, Splurge, bakery established for over 10 years, downtown. Jumana Culligan, merchant, papery, less than 2 years, downtown. Tracy Katz-Levine, resident. Michael Polavecchio, resident, who holds a position for the Essex County Freeholders, could possibly pose a conflict in the event the SID were to have issues. Alex McDonald, business administrator. Richard Wasserman, interesting that he will sit on the Board of Trustees. How is he going to manage this position, considering his comment to me during the July 1st, 2020 property information session clearly stated, everyone is very busy. I responded by asking, why would he run for elected position if you are too busy? And why is the TC taking up valuable time from our own lives while trying to save our businesses from the onerous tax, especially during a pandemic? clearly stated 4 out of the 7 members are either or both downtown property owners or merchants.
Ms.
So,
Urso, Ms.
where
Urso,
are,
you
where
have-
are
you have-
your Upper Millburn Avenue, Chatham Road, and Morris Turnpike property owners
That's enough.
who
That's
on-
their third, Ms. Urso, that's your third warning. You
On-
must sit down.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I had another paragraph to
Thank
finish.
you.
No.
Thank you.
Good job, Karen. Carrie spoke for an hour.
I'm not discussing that.
Yeah, Carrie tortured us for an hour.
Okay. Okay, is there any who else wants?
Mr. Footer, I'm asking you to please be respectful of the time clock.
I'll do my best.
No.
This is all I have.
It's 3 minutes.
Don't start
3
it yet.
minutes.
Okay.
3 minutes.
There's
We're
a,
not doing that.
there's
Not-
a
we're
warning.
not. We're
There's
not-
2:30, a warning rings, and then there's 30 more seconds.
We're not doing
You didn't
yielding.
yield to that, you were
What-
on this
what-
side of the fence.
And now I'm on this side.
Yeah, I know. You
Okay.
should be respecting us on this.
Enough, please.
That's enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a business meeting. If you continue, I will have to ask the police officer to escort you out if you are not respectful.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, Mr. Footer. Thank you.
During discussions with the Township Committee and representatives of the committee through info sessions, it has been asserted that the businesses need help. When I asked what kind of help do you intend to give, you had no answer. I asked if you had talked to the businesses to find out what kind of help they might need. You answered that you did not, but rather reported that the SID board would decide. The Township Committee has repeatedly said we need a SID. I asked why. Your reply was to help the businesses. I asked if you haven't asked the businesses what kind of help is needed. How do you know that you need a SID and if it's the appropriate vehicle to help? Your reply was to thank me for expressing my concerns. I, along with others, have objected with the passing of any ordinance that does not indemnify property owners against future financial encumbrances due to loans incurred by the SID. Your response was that would be addressed through the bylaws when the board creates them. I, along with others, furthered our position on the indemnification issue to extend to any loan, repayment, or interest due on loans to be forbidden from being included in succeeding years' SID budgets. Your response was that the SID's budget would stay within its cash flow, money in, money out, exactly our point. And to add to that is our concern that the ordinance name Millburn Township to be guarantor of loans and interest of them to effectively remove any property owners, businesses, and stakeholders from any financial responsibility now or in the future. Of course, this ordinance can be structured that way. Perfect example is your inclusion of a dissolution prohibited clause. I'm going to jump to the back because I added some of this. This was a previous letter. I have said repeatedly that the structure of this ordinance is wrong. I have said this since the first info session. I have said repeatedly that the DMC should only be referenced as being designated to manage the district and not be named or included in the ordinance. Our businesses need help. We need a SID. I have had conversations with a few of you on the committee and have been asked, why are you so concerned about the assessment? Most property owners will pass it on to the tenants, was your response. Do you mean, my response, pass it on to the very businesses that need help? Think about it. Passing this ordinance is the wrong thing to do. I urge you again, please vote no on this ordinance. Every year there is a campaign, and every year the downtown winds up part of the platform. This year, the pandemic and the entire business community has found its way onto the platform. This must be what the kids in a breaking up marriage suffering through a custody battle must feel like. Again, I urge you to vote no on ordinance 256120. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
Hi, my name is Stephen Gottlieb, and I sent a letter a very, very short letter to the township, which you have. Sorry. to my opposition. My family owns the property at 504 Millburn Avenue. My dad built that building in 1958. This was a lot different town back then. Things have changed, businesses have come, businesses have gone. But all I do is want to put on public record that during the COVID, this is a bad time. It's a bad time for people to be opening businesses. I commend the gentleman in the back who did, and I commend him for his innovation. But it's not the right time, and I wanted to go on public record that I have given my tenant relief during the COVID, okay? And put yourself in the position of trying to run a business now, and all of a sudden hearing that you may in the future have some kind of increase because of some kind of committee that hasn't really been done properly, as far as I can read. I've only been brought into this in the last couple of weeks, so I'm learning about it myself. But I really think at this time, you should table this, form the proper committees, and I hope that the council will vote no tonight.
Hi, my name is Sion Burney. My family owns multiple properties in town. I've lived in town since 1976. We have some in the downtown and some on Morris Turnpike. And I urge you all to vote no at this time for 3 basic reasons, just to keep it brief. One, this SID was tried before and failed from 1992 to 2018, and they voted to dissolve themselves. That's one, so it's already been tried. 2, as mentioned by multiple other people here, the timing is terrible. I have also had to give relief to my tenants because of COVID-19, so my revenue is down because I'm helping them by saying, okay, you don't have to pay me now, yet you guys are essentially proposing to raise the taxes on us. So my expenses are going to go up, my revenue is already down, so bad timing. And then 3rd, as Perry has pointed out and some others, this is taxation without representation. Of the 7 voting committee members on the proposed ordinance, only 2 of them are actual property owners subject to the tax. The other 5, or 71% of them, don't have to pay the tax at all, yet they get to vote on everything that the committee does, and they're appointed by the town. Where is that representative of the actual taxpayer? It's taxation without representation. And this country was founded on that. They fought against the King of England, so that's all I have to say. I have an extra minute to give to anybody else here who would like to have it.
Thank you. Somebody else on the phone?
Jimmy, is there anybody else in the
we
queue?
have 4 on the phone call and probably up to 3 in the
Okay.
bathroom. Whichever you want
We're
to
gonna,
first, ma'am.
we're gonna hear them all.
Do you want to take the phone?
Yeah, let's take the phone call.
Okay. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, hi. My name is Jean Pasternak. I'm a resident at 342 Hobart Avenue. I have a few questions and a couple comments. My first question is the committee ignoring former mayor and current committee member Burstein's warnings about violation of state law with this ordinance? Why are they being ignored if so? My second question is, at the previous meeting where the first reading vote was about to take place, there had been an issue raised about conflict of interest with Committeewoman Prupus being a business owner and potentially benefiting from the passage of this ordinance. The mayor committed at that time, as far as I heard, to looking into this. And what she said was that would be done. My question is, Mayor, has that been done, and what was the result of your investigation? May Ms. Prupus vote this evening? If so, why? As she appears to be conflicted and should be recusing herself from everything that I have read regarding the ethics code that each of you has undertaken
Ms.
as
Pasternak,
public officials.
that was addressed earlier in the meeting by our council Mr. Falcon in his opening
I
remarks.
came in late, so I don't know what the answer of that was.
The answer that her role as an owner of a business did not constitute a conflict of interest.
Well, that's not at all the way I read it, but fine. If that's what the conclusion is, and that's on the record, and that can be challenged. Thirdly, I would like to also raise that you are the fiduciaries of our trust and our treasurer as elected public officials. Hearing now Committeeman Wasserman's argument that we need to invest now for the future sounds to me like a late excuse. And I'd like to say that his enthusiasm and others' enthusiasm for this idea is not a substitute for study and preparation to allow for a success, especially during this time, as all the other people that have basically commented against this. The pandemic has put us in a very severe situation, and it doesn't seem appropriate in any way, shape, or form. And finally, I'd like to make a comment about a prior comment that someone made regarding people's behavior toward their neighbors. What I've observed in the meetings that I've attended is the example that's being set by both the mayor and some other of the committee members toward the public is absolutely uncalled for. People are here sincerely, they're expressing their views, and they should not be shut down, threatened, or made to feel that they should not be in attendance and voicing their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else?
Hello? Hello?
Going in and out, my friend.
Yeah, we can hear you. If you could say your name and address, please.
My name is Andrew Morgan, 328 Millburn Avenue, Millburn Deli, a property owner and business owner in downtown. Since I can't hear you, I'm just going to go into my spiel. I wanted to quickly just say first, actually thank you for closing down Main Street. I actually don't think it's better for Millburn Deli. I actually think it's worse because it takes people longer to get to the deli, but it shows that the town council and those involved were thinking about the needs of small businesses, and I know that the closure has been enormously helpful for them. And so when I take off my what's good for Millburn Deli hat and look at what's good for the community, I think it was the right move, even though some residents were upset. With regard to the ordinance specifically, I have to say, I totally get the opposition. I understand. I remember what the DMDA was when I first heard this was being proposed. To be honest, I kind of lost it. I was like, oh God, here we go, another DMDA. But then I think I realized I was fixated on what was, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think with this new ordinance, we have an opportunity to do right all the things that the DMDA did wrong, and that list is long. But I think if we are able to find the right director, Millburn Deli just opened up their first expansion in Morristown, and it was my first time really dealing with a SID behind the scenes. I've heard of them, seen some of their work, and I have to tell you, it was enormously helpful in getting us through the process, and we were made to feel welcome, and they pointed out the things that they've done for the town. And so I guess what I'm saying is that my view on why some people seem so upset by this is because they remember all that the DMDA was. And I think that there's a really big opportunity to make this better, because I can tell you what isn't working is what's happening now. There's just more and more vacancies. Businesses don't seem keen on coming downtown. And so I would just implore anyone who is against this, and I feel your passion, I get you, I've been in your position, that if it passes, that you get behind it, because it's ultimately in everyone's best interest. And I think it's something we need to try. I could ramble on forever, but I think we should give it a shot. If Complete Streets had been undone, maybe I wouldn't think that we needed this, but we live with what we have, and so that's my spiel. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, thank you,
Thank,
thank you. Gavel. Who else? Jack?
You have two more on the line.
Yeah.
okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Please say your name and address.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Parlavecchio. I'm a resident of 139 Fairfield Drive in Short Hills, a longtime resident, and I submitted an application to be considered for membership on the new Special Improvement District Board of Trustees. I think I've heard a lot of what people have said. I understand the passion. I understand people coming out, especially business owners. I'm not a business owner. I'm a resident. I do pay taxes here, of course, as a resident. And I understand people thinking that a study or some further looking into is important. But I think it's important that other towns have done this and have done this successfully. Places like Montclair, like Westfield, like Morristown, and I'm sure a number of you have been to those downtowns, and those are thriving. I have to applaud the mayor for really doing something that she thinks is right to get our downtown back on board. I think you have some choices. You can make something happen, you can wait for something to happen, or you can wait until things go downhill and say, what happened? And then we're standing here with a bigger problem. We don't know yet, and this is true, we don't know yet if this SID will have all the answers. But I think it's an attempt to get things right. As Andrew Morgan just said, there were a lot of mistakes made in the past. I think this Special Improvement District and its Board of Trustees will be answerable to people. I've been a volunteer on boards before, and the idea that there's taxation with representation doesn't really make much sense. I served on this township's zoning board for a number of years, and I had the pleasure of serving with former Mayor Burstein on that board. And we made plenty of decisions. Some people were happy, some people were not. But just like that, there will be volunteers, and hopefully I can be amongst those volunteers to serve this township and serve on the Special Improvement District Board of Trustees and work with the business owners and try to collect the data, try to collect the information, to listen to what the real concerns are and what we can do to help improve their lifestyle, help improve their way of earning a living, and ultimately become a benefit to all the residents, all the visitors of this township. I think it would be sad to not do anything, to sit back and hope for something better. Studying is important, but sometimes you have to get in and do it. This is not a novel approach. This is an approach that's been used in a number of other towns and with great success. I completely respect the property owners and the business owners' concern at this time in the history of this country. It's uncertain, to say the least. But I would also ask you to give this a chance, give it an opportunity to be successful. Help be part of that success. Help us make this successful.
Thank you, Michael.
Or to pass. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Jimmy?
One more on the line.
Okay. And then if there's anybody else in the,
Is there anybody else in the?
Yeah, there's up to 3 in the back room. Hello?
okay.
Hi. I'm Nadej Nicole. I live on 101 Norwood Road in Shore Hills. I am a commercial property owner and I am in favor of the SID. I am a merchant and I am in favor of the SID. I am a resident and I am in favor of the SID. I am also one of the people who answered the volunteer call to help with the SID. Our town has many vacant spaces, and if we do nothing, the situation is likely to get worse. The SID initiative aims to strengthen our town, and strong communities thrive no matter what. Given where we are now, I think the SID is an opportunity for all. For commercial property owners, it will help make the town more attractive for new businesses. For merchants, SEED actions should translate into more foot traffic. For residents, living in an active and strong community can only be beneficial to our investment, our kids, and ourselves. We have many talented, energetic, and creative people in our town. If the SEED ordinance is approved, I hope that we can all get behind it and lend our talents to give it our best shot, because the success of the SEED has a chance to be a success for all. Thank you for your time, for the work you are doing, and for keeping your head up even when the argument turns divisive. I applaud you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're waiting in the hallway? Please
yes.
come on in. Please.
Do we push us over 25 now, or? You want me, I'll step out for that.
Senator,
It's fine.
do we need somebody to step out?
Timer.
Somebody gonna step out?
My name is Stephanie Morgan. I'm a resident. I live at 49 Greenwood Drive. I'm not a merchant, although I do have a fair amount of experience in real
Talk
estate.
a little louder, I'm sorry.
Have to
I know,
talk
it's
through this
hard.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Did you hear name, address?
You
got all
can
that?
hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm a resident. I'm not a merchant, but I do have, my career has been in real estate for 40 some odd years. And I've attended a lot of hearings about zoning and development and all sorts of stuff in my life. And without addressing myself specifically to the SID, I just want to make one comment about the process. I think the way this is, if you sit in another room or you listen to it on TV, on YouTube, it feels like this is a binary decision. It's going to be a yes or a no. It's an up or a down. What I'm hearing is that this has to do with the content and the structure of the ordinance, the way it might be, a different way of fashioning it, a different way of structuring the oversight, or the person who's going to actually be doing the work. I've had experience representing both landlords and tenants in all of the towns that you've mentioned and some other ones you haven't in other states. And I think that everybody might benefit from just tabling it, having some more calmer conversation with all of the stakeholders and arriving at something that makes sense for everyone. We're all capable of compromise. We're all intelligent, smart people. I believe that we can get there. I just think maybe it needs to be done a different way. And what I'm hearing is that it sounds like it's going to be, it has to be up or down tonight. I'm not sure that it does. I think maybe the world won't stop turning if 30 more days go by and everybody comes to a decision, or 45 or however many days it is, but everyone comes to a decision that makes sense administratively, practically, for the stakeholders, for governance. And I would just ask that everybody just think a little bit about not having it be contentious and simply up or down, but maybe think about taking some time to find a really good solution. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Not in the back room. There's one caller, but we can take him.
Yeah, let's take the caller, and then if there's anybody else in the gallery, we would welcome to hear from you.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yes.
please say your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Carissa Riley, and I live at 72 Hillside Avenue in Short Hills. I just had a quick question, actually. I've heard a few people object to Ms. Prupis being involved in this on the basis that, you know, she stands to benefit from the SID. But I've also heard people say, as business owners, which she is, that they don't want this to proceed because it would be harmful to them as business owners. So I don't really understand how
they can say that it would be harmful and put them at a disadvantage for this, and yet the very same thing would be helpful to her. I hope you can help me columba this. I just don't understand.
I think that it would be not helpful to them. It would be advantageous if the committee voted against it, because they would not have to endure additional costs, is my, and that that would be my understanding. I mean, I understand your question and your dilemma.
Do you? Because I don't understand how the very same thing could put some people at a disadvantage, and hence why they don't want it, and yet put another person at an advantage. So if we're saying she shouldn't be involved in this because it puts her at an advantage, well, then isn't it logical that it would put all business owners at an advantage? That it would be good for all of us?
So, okay, do you have another question for us with respect to this? With this? No, it's fine.
You gotta stop reacting like that, Jackie.
Please, Nancy. Carissa, did you have another question? Carissa? Oh, we lost Carissa.
Is there any,
Yeah, we have
is there any,
phone number.
is there,
Pull it
is
back.
there,
Do you have it track?
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to weigh in on this
yeah.
ordinance
Well, how
before?
about you answer the question, if she's watching it, she can hear what the answer is.
Correct.
So if she's listening.
If she calls back, we'll have that
If
opportunity.
she's listening, so why can't you just have the question answered?
Just next.
Anybody else? We're gonna move on.
Or dismiss it.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
It was a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
It was a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
She was trying to prove that I should vote.
Yeah.
And the hypocrisy of all that.
Right.
Or not. Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Hi, Stephen Weiner, and we live on Woodland Road in the Glenwood section. My wife and I own and operate Splurge Bakery right down on Main Street. We've lived here about 17 years and operated the store about a little over 10 years now. So just very quick comments. We support the creation of the bid SID. We think it's a great idea. And as I was sitting listening to all the comments, it's like, why now? And it's like, why not now? It seems to us like this is the time when you have to lean in and support businesses that are struggling, including our own, given COVID, given the economic situation. And so we feel like we need to do something, and doing nothing is not a viable option. We saw, and we're very optimistic about how we can improve things. I would also say that there's no taxes or fees due for 16 months, I think it is. So an assessment of the effectiveness of the bid SID should occur, and I think that's the plan, is to review how effective, sorry, it's hard to talk in this math, how effective the bid SID will be, and then that assessment can occur, or the review can occur, and then a decision can be made as to how to move forward. So just generally, if approved, I mean, Splurge Bakery and we look forward to supporting and helping it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no dissolution. That's
Thank
your
you.
answer.
Thank you.
There's no dissolution,
Yeah,
so
yeah, tell
you
us
can't
that.
get rid of it.
Tell us that.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jamana Culligan. I live in Forest Drive in Short Hills. I'm the owner of Paper Ribbon Wrap on 321 Millburn Avenue. I opened my business just over a year ago, but I wanted to mention that it took me about 9 months nearly to get my doors open. Between all the paperwork I had to file for a variance, change of use, and it was a time-consuming process. So I also I applied for the position, threw my hat in to help out with the bid SID, and I actually think it will also be a good idea. I think will reiterate what Steve has mentioned, what Andrew and Nadej. I only can see a benefit to our downtown, whether it's Short Hills or Millburn. I think this is a good idea. I do agree that we should also do a review at the end of the 16 months and see if this has been a process that was positive and helped our downtown merchants. I really don't have much else to add, but I do applaud you guys for going forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Nancy Stone, resident, 10 Fielding Road. Merchant, Nancy and David Fine Jewels, 266 Essex Street. And Style by Nancy and David at 275 Millburn Avenue. I cannot believe I'm at the age of remembering the good old days. I became publicly and politically active when Ellen Steinberg, a good friend, a Democrat, asked me to help with her TC campaign, Millburn TC campaign. I considered myself a moderate Republican, more so independent, but nevertheless I knew Ellen was a good person, smart, and I believed in her convictions. I joined forces with her. With that said, I helped Ellen and hosted in my home her very first campaign fundraiser, and she went on to win a seat on the township committee. I say I because David was always of the belief we should stay out of town politics because of our business. I clearly did not share that belief, and we agreed to differ. After 38 years of marriage and 8 years of being together, obviously the disagreements do become compromise. I continue to support those who I felt would do the best job representing our precious Millburn. In the good old days, the item came to the House, and that is how we received our local news. In my research for tonight, I found this article from the item that clearly states the reason why I supported Ellen and anybody who I believed has the integrity to do the right thing in spite of political pressure of a party. In the article on January 10th of 2008, Ellen Steinberg, a Democrat, was the swing vote against Dan Baer for Republican Sandy Haymore for mayor. Against her own party, because in her own words, this year we need a different kind of mayor. We need someone who has the organizational skills to run this committee and someone who will serve all the residents of our town. I did not agree with everything Ellen did, but as well-meaning candidates, they come and go and leave a trail of their legacy behind for another group to correct. In my opinion, this ordinance does not address the needs for the health and well-being of the business community. There are better alternatives without an assessment, which Diane proposed this evening, that would equally or better address the needs of what you're saying are the reasons for this ordinance. Jackie, we've always stated that we've always had a pleasant relationship. You were the swing vote in favor of trusting me to do the right thing with the second half of the 2018 DMDA budget of $108,000. Cheryl was a yes, Jody was a no, Sam was a no, Diane was a no, Jackie, you was a yes, and it passed. You listened to reason, we tried. The SID did not work, and it does not work in other towns. The grass is not greener. Everybody else is having problems too. I made the motion to end it, and it was a difficult decision, but it needed to be done. Nobody had any regrets, and everybody welcomed the reprieve of this unnecessary assessment. The question I keep asking myself, how far would you go to kill an ordinance? I have fought hard since April against this ordinance, and I've mustered up the support, and I'm proud of my fellow teammates, Richard Footer, Perry, Jean Pasternak, Sion Burney, Steve Gottlieb, George Eisenberg, John Rutter, Lloyd Perkel, Kenny Mandelbaum, and Alan Halpert, just to name a few. I want to thank Cheryl Burstein for listening to our position and voting no. Who would have thought Diane Eglow? Thank you for doing an insurmountable amount of work to educate herself on the details of this ordinance. She cared enough to call and asked the right questions to understand and continues to support our opposition, I'm voting no. Tara, I'm not too proud to ask of you in return. Hello? I'm not too proud to ask of you to return the courtesy I gave you when you humbly asked me for my help with the DMDA. Kit is misleading you, as any good billing attorney, a billing machine attorney, would do as a conflict of interest. Even if this was a unanimous yes, you should still recuse yourself because it is clear conflict of interest. Please vote no, and let's work together toward a common goal of helping Millburn regain its vibrancy. Jackie, I have to assume your intentions are good, as Ellen Steinberg's were. We did not always agree, but compromise, like in a good marriage, always prevails. The ordinance as it stands will be hurtful to the town, and the only person that it will benefit is the person drawing the salary check for this dead-end job. Is that the legacy you want to leave, to take a chance on leaving for your legacy? Richard, your vote tonight will matter. Either way, but as a merchant who understands income and expenses, why would you vote on something that I'm sure if you were a merchant in the downtown, because every time we talk about this ordinance, downtown, 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 and standing in my shoes, we would be standing together as business people with sechel in opposition to this ordinance as it stands. You are going to be inheriting this with Diane, who was your running mate, Tara, and two new TC people. Take a pause. Be smart. Ask yourself, if you had to write the check out of your own pocket, would you do it? That is the question I asked myself when I made the motion to painfully end the DMDA. Would I write a check out of my own pocket to fund this organization? The answer was no. One or two of you can make the decision tonight. The three of you would be the trifecta to vote no. Let's work together to find another solution. I am passionate, and I've made many friends, and clearly in my passion offended a few along the way. With those, I say namaste to those I owe an apology, because I love Millburn, and I would love to help you without an assessment. I offered that to you, Jackie, to offer my help without an assessment, and it can be done without an assessment. And as a businessman, you should be able to make that decision, and you as a businesswoman should also be able to make that decision without an assessment. You have the money in the budget, spend the $200,000 without passing the ordinance. In 16 months, reevaluate, and then go forward. But you don't need to pass the ordinance. It's not necessary.
Is there anybody else?
We have one in the back room and then one caller.
Okay.
We'll take the caller.
I wanted to give this to you. This
Hello?
was the article. Oh, you want to submit it for the record?
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, please state your name and address for the record.
Susan Guerin, 25 Undercliff Road. I first of all am not one who usually comments on these things, but I do want to thank all of the town council members for giving their time and their efforts. This is a difficult conversation tonight, and I agree with others that I think we could treat each other nicer in this current environment than we are right now. I also agree that our downtown, since I've lived here quite a long time, has deteriorated. And I'm always surprised that it's the same buildings that are vacant. There are some areas that actually do have thriving parts, but others don't. And I can't help but wonder if it's also about the landlords in those locations. And anything we can do to help our downtown would be greatly appreciated. And so I do support the SID. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was it, the lady doesn't want to comment.
Oh, she doesn't.
Okay.
Well, wait, I have some
Yeah,
specific
Diane-
questions.
Diane,
Oh, I thought you were
question.
closing it. I thought you were closing comments. Oh, then we speak? Okay, I apologize.
At this time, I move that the public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on the final reading in accordance with law. Before.
Wait, we have to have comments
Right,
amongst us.
Move that the public hearing be closed.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions, and this might be my only chance to get clarification. First of all, read this DMDA 2561-20 over and over again. And what upsets me is in the beginning, it keeps being called as an assessment. And when I spoke to Tracy Levine, it's clearly a tax. I appreciate the people calling in, and the majority of people who've called in, it's public record on the resolution, that Michael Polavecchio, Tracy Levine, Andrew Morgan, Nadaj, Stephen Weiner, Jemana Colligan are all shortlisted for this board. Okay, we'll get to that if this passes. Specific questions. Okay, so let's just take, what is this? Page 2, little c. Promoting economic growth and employment. I don't know how the CID is supposed to promote employment. Little d. Special assessment shall be imposed and collected by township together with the regular property tax. It's clearly a tax. Little e. It is in the best interest of the township and the public to create district and to designate the district management corporation. Well, the stakeholders, as we can hear, clearly don't agree, who will be eventually paying this tax. So if it's in their best interest, why do they all disagree? Section 3, page 3, creation. Properties within the district shall be subject to this special assessment. Let's go section 4, little a. Having imposed thereon by the township a special assessment for the purposes of promoting the economic and general welfare of the district and the township, assessment shall be spent on those purposes permitted, but it doesn't say what those purposes permitted are. So I don't know where I'm missing that, but what are the purposes? I'll continue. Little b, subsection 1. They finally call it a specific tax. Tax provisions are especially subject to potential tax and assessment. Just like my home is assessed, my tax is based on that assessment. Next page, they call it Mishpa. One time the mayor said that keeps her up at night thinking of a name. Well, that's the last thing that keeps me up is the name. What keeps me up at night is this whole process. And it does keep me up at night. I wake up and I'm up for 2 hours thinking about the process and the surprises that I have been attacked with. Not attacked, I take that back. Let's see, is this a 501c3? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay, section 7, little b. Employ such persons as required. So not only will half the CID budget go to this one person for possibly 50% of the entire budget, they will hire more people. How will there be any money left? I don't understand. So when people, I don't know who said it, said, don't worry, they won't ask for more money, how can you then hire another person, triple your footprint, and not expect to have to up the assessment? It's common sense. Little d. Make and excuse agreements which may be necessary or convenient to the exercise the powers and functions of corporation, including contracts with any person, firm, corporation, governmental agency, or entity. I'm not a lawyer. Is that lawyer speak? Convenient? I don't know. A convenient contract? Contracts are binding. I know that. Little f. Borrow money from government entities. If someone buys a property, I know there's a property for sale. Whoever buys that or in the future, are they indemnified from these debts that other people previously took on? I don't understand that. Fund the improvement for the exterior appearance of properties in the district through grants or loans. Is this mural, something I have brought up, a mural? Or is this the toy hobby store that's been vacant for I don't know how many years on Main Street? is ShopRite and King's, and Benny Hahn is supposed to chip in to the till to improve, I don't know what that means. Enforce the conditions of any loan or grant made that, but this is just so nebulous. Little I, recruit new businesses to fill, this is important, to fill vacancies and to balance the business mix of the district. When I was on the planning board, Po Yoga, another exercise studio, wants to move in, and the owner of Po Yoga, who I understand has sold since then, she said, I don't want another competition next to me. Well, that's not how you decide what a business, it's who's allowed. So will Mishpo say, ooh, we already have 4 of you, we don't want, you're gonna send that business packing and say, no, you're not wanted here in Millburn? Balance the, I don't understand that. Another one, little n, provide special parking arrangements? What does this even mean? I have so many questions, and as a few people have said, like former Mayor Becker, this is just not ready for prime time. Let's go to page 6. The Township Committee may amend the budget during or after the public hearing. Add a new item in the budget in excess of 1% of the total amount of the stated and approved budget. Increase or decrease any item by more than 10%. Increase the amount to be raised pursuant to Section 16 of PL 1972, number, by more than 5%, unless the same is made pursuant to the emergency temporary appropriation only. I believe that none of this makes a whole lot of sense to the layperson. And the last thing I'm going to say here, page 8, little e, for the purpose of this ordinance, annual improvements shall mean and include any reconstruction. Reconstruction of what? Complete streets? Do you want to change the sidewalks on Chatham Road, on Upper Millburn Avenue? That to me is way too broad. So, I'm going to close this by saying, for all the reasons and all the people we have heard from and all these questions, and I'm sure we could spend 20 minutes having Kit answer everything line by line, but what I'd like to say is for all these reasons, I would like to put forth a motion to table ordinance 2561-20. Mayor, I believe you have to ask for a second.
Is there a second?
Yes. Oh, has there been a motion made to adopt this ordinance and seconded?
No.
I made a motion to table it, Kit. And I believe Cheryl was about to speak.
What I'm trying to figure out is whether there's a motion on the floor.
Yes, my motion to table the ordinance is on the floor.
Okay, so there's no other motion?
No.
All right.
Committeewoman Burstein, were you about to speak?
I seconded the motion, no?
Oh, you did second it already, okay. So, policy is we now talk about the table of the motion? Roll call to table, without comments?
You made a motion to table, I mean, I don't know if you want them to comment, I'm sure.
I would like them to comment.
But they don't have to.
They don't have to, but I would like, I haven't heard from Tara
Okay,
on
let's have a
anything.
roll call vote on the motion to table ordinance 2561-20. May I have a roll call vote?
Ms. Burstein?
Okay, so before I vote, I just want it noted for the record that every single person who spoke in favor of the ordinance acknowledged that this ordinance is for the benefit of the downtown and the downtown only. So the ordinance is written, which includes a footprint of all the business districts, other than the mall, is completely overbroad and really needs to be rethought. So I will vote yes on the motion to table.
Ms. Prupus?
No.
Ms. Stahl-Eglo?
Yes, and I'd like to say I'm disappointed that Tara Prupus has not commented ever. So yes on tabling.
Mr. Wasserman?
No.
Mayor Lieberberg,
No.
Motion fails. Keep on, Jerry.
I now move that I now move that this ordinance be adopted on final reading and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on this final reading in accordance with law.
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Burstein,
I think this process is inappropriate, so no.
she said no.
I said no.
Thank you. Ms. Prupus,
Yes.
Ms. Saul Eglo,
No, and I'm very, very sad about the process as well.
Mr. Wasserman,
Yes.
Mayor Lieberberg,
Yes.
All we see is heads wagging no. It's really a shanda.
Mr. Wasserman is scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2560-20.
Just give me 1 second, Mayor.
Yeah.
I don't know where it went. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance 2560-20, ordinance amending and supplementing the Township of Millburn Development Regulations and Zoning Ordinance. I originally offered this ordinance to make it easier for food establishments to expand into vacancies that were food establishments. And the idea was basically just to make it easier for our businesses to expand, without the burden of going through a zoning board, hiring a lawyer, spending months and potentially $10,000 to $20,000 on doing something that seems like it's pretty common sense. Since I presented this ordinance, I have met with residents. I met with residents who were very concerned that this ordinance actually takes away the 125-foot buffer between a food establishment and a home and a residence. This wasn't my intention. This was not something that I was trying to accomplish in this ordinance. And for that reason, and again, I spoke to many residents about this, I just think that with a little more rethinking of this ordinance, we can accomplish it, and we don't have to take away any of our residents' protections, and it really was not my intention to do this. So with that being said, I will tell you from the start of this that I'd like to, I think technically we have to vote it down, but it's something that eventually I'd like to work on this with our attorneys and make this a better ordinance. And with that being said, yeah.
I also want to mention that I've had similar conversation with residents and recognize that the ordinance needs to be reevaluated and fully vetted by the committee more thoroughly at some future date.
Jackie, Mayor Beck would like to speak.
Mayor, former mayor is
I want to
addressing.
speak to this ordinance.
Yes. I would like to declare
Speak up, I hear a lot of undertones there.
at this time, I would like to declare the hearing open. Yes, by all means.
I was puzzled by acting now with the end of, hopefully, the end of a pandemic, and during the summer when most people in town, we know it always empties out with vacations and so forth, especially now when people want to get out of town. It did puzzle me why you would want to take away the 125 feet. I don't know exactly what your purpose is to rewrite it or redo it or anything. I don't know what's wrong with why it is, unless you want to give us more feet. I remember some years ago, we were going to get a rib place, stone's throw from our houses at the strip mall by the Chase Bank. And we did not want to smell ribs all day and night. And we thought it would, a lot of kids would like to go there. They'd be open late. None of those stores is open late. So, we have benefited by that. There was another place downtown, I think, where it was benefited. And the last thing I want to do is give more space to a restaurant. It just doesn't make any sense. If they need more space, go somewhere else. So, I really am very much against making any change. I think it has worked there are so many streets. If you walk it, you will see on Birchwood, on Claremont, on Canterbury, on 11 streets, at least on Morris Turnpike. And that doesn't even include the ones off Millburn Avenue. You've got Meadowbrook Road, you've got Mount Ararat, you've got, what else? Whatever. 11, I counted 11 just in that.
Well, if I can respond, because I agree with you. Our intention was never to take away the 125-foot buffer, but just to tell you like an example in town, the Tinga space that's vacant right now, for instance, on Millburn Avenue. If another food establishment in town wanted to expand and say, okay, we want to rent that space, we want to move a food establishment into that space right now, they would, right now under the current rules, they'd have to go through a zoning board, and they'd have to get an attorney, and they'd have to wait, whatever it is to do that. And to me, that seems a little archaic, that a food establishment would have to move, would have to get special zoning permission to move into a vacant food establishment.
But it's not change of use. Why would they have to?
Because that's
Because
my understanding of what the rules are right now.
But it doesn't back up on a
Well,
residential home in a residential neighborhood.
Well, that is why.
That's why we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Elaine, it was
for
a mistake in the way that it was formulated. It wasn't the intention. It was in the intention to make, if it was already had been a restaurant, to allow another restaurant to move into the same space. But restaurants aren't permitted uses, so it wasn't able. It had to be rezoned, and then we're just going to focus it down here and not where on Morris Avenue where it abuts residential. So we hear you and we agree with you, and we're reworking it in your favor.
Yes. Agreed.
You could have done that for us.
Okay.
I have a comment before you proceed. Are you done, Mayor?
I think so. I mean, I don't know exactly how this is going to change. I don't know why it would change, if you're going to leave it the same as it is applying now.
It's not the same as it's applied now. So right now, if someone were to go into a restaurant empties, and another restaurant just wants to go in and use the same space. So let's just say like my store empties, I had to go to the planning board. But if another restaurant wants to go in there, if I leave, then they won't have to go to the planning board. It was a huge expense, a huge barrier to open up a business in town. So we just want to allow that same use to carry over. That was all we were trying to do.
Right.
And there were mistakes made, and we were trying to correct them. So we hear you.
Yeah. We just want to do what's common sense, but we do hear you, and we don't want to change that 125-foot barrier.
Okay, it just seemed so particular that I don't quite get exactly how you're going to change it.
To be continued.
I understand what the point is here.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'll let him know you want to speak.
Thanks for your input.
Thank you. Diane, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, so I didn't know if I'd have to use this first sentence of my statement, but I had a feeling I would, because I still have never heard, the definitions. But you all just passed an ordinance to reinstate the SID, which is to be business friendly. That's exactly what you're claiming its intent is, business friendly. Restaurants already exist on Morris Avenue, on Upper Millburn Avenue, in the downtown. The purpose for this change was to make Millburn more business friendly, to relieve some of the burdens of prospective businesses from wanting to come into our town and invest many thousands of dollars. As committee member Prupus just said, She used to come into this town hall very animatedly, referring to the difficulties, hurdles, and the huge expense. I've heard it can be between $10,000 and $15,000 for a simple one-time board application and appearance. We are in a worldwide pandemic. Okay, we all know that. Stores and restaurants are closing. Last I heard on NPR, Amazon controls 40% of our country's commerce. People are ordering even their groceries online, and I don't know if they're ever going to stop doing that. People still want to eat out, though. Look at Main Street. Everyone who's against complete streets was very happy to close Main Street. Who knew? Our residents want to eat out. Everyone's complaining about the empty storefronts. Once there's going to be 3 new apartment buildings built, there's going to be a lot of people who are wanting to eat out in our restaurants. Do we want them to go to Summit? And Westfield, by the way, is hurting. Westfield is not the panacea. There's plenty of empty storefronts, as you brag about Westfield. Let our residents and our visitors make Millburn their restaurant destination. Keep our storefronts filled and vibrant. Glenwood residents, if there's restaurants, can enjoy the same convenience I have as South Mountain. I walk into Millburn every Friday night. Well, now my husband will not go to a restaurant, but that's what we did. We didn't have to worry about parking. And I believe with strict enforcement of the garbage and the venting issues, this would not be a hindrance. I believe this is something we want. And the 125 feet does not stop a restaurant from moving in now. It just makes them go and get a very expensive, complicated D3 variance. You're not keeping restaurants out. You're making it harder for them to move in. If that's your intent, and I say this with all due respect, if you move near a school, you can't complain about the kids screaming during recess. If you move by a highway, you can't complain about the highway noise. If you happen to move near a commercial district, you knew that when you bought your house. Maybe your house costs less money because of where you back up to. We don't live out in Bernardsville or Mendham where we have these beautiful, 5-acre properties. We live in an amazing little town. And we want restaurants to move in. I don't really think anyone's going to open up a men's clothier, a women's boutique. The florists are struggling. I don't know who we're going to attract but restaurants. But if you keep making barriers in their way, and you've just charged our, landlords with another tax come 2022, which I guarantee, I'll put it in writing, is going to go up. Why would you not want restaurants? You're not going to smell ribs. You've got a Wendy's. You've got Panera. You had Glenwood Sweet Shop for, 50, 60 years. You had Squirrel and the Bee. You now have Nubacone where Tilly's was. You have restaurants. They exist. So, you want to stop this, but you just went and suckered the town commercial property owners with a big SID tax. So I am incredibly disappointed in who I all helped get all of you elected. So I am sorry that I am not on the side with any of you. No.
Just for the record,
Please do not interrupt me.
When you and I,
Committeeman Wasserman,
okay.
please don't interrupt
All right, but
me.
when you and I ran
Please.
for office, you happened to support a bid. You were not remember telling 1,000
Okay, Richard,
people?
you want to have a conversation?
wait.
Okay, Richard,
flipped
when did we run for
Please,
office?
please.
Okay, since you insisted
Decorum.
on interrupting
please.
me, Committeeman Wasserman. Right, we ran for office together. That was last summer, a year ago.
It's in November.
Can we address the ordinance?
No, Richard Wasserman asked a question. We ran for office together. We started in the summer. We got elected in November. Then you didn't speak to me the
Okay,
day after.
wait,
No, Mayor, I'm going to finish now. I am tired of being shut down. The day after we got elected, you stopped talking to me. And then, let me finish. And then the pandemic happened, and I did stop supporting the SID, Richard. Things change. You don't have your feet in cement here. Nobody seems to have listened to
Now, what about
anybody.
the residents on Meadowbrook that are worried that Bill's Army Navy is going to turn into fast food, and they want the zoning board protection, Diane?
They have it. Whatever wants to do has to go before a board.
If we change it, they won't have that.
Okay, Richard, I'm glad you made promises to stop it.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're tabling, Nicholas Volpicelli again, Overlook Terrace. I'm glad you're tabling this amendment. But the fact you're even thinking about this kind of spot zoning, I find very problematic. When you are changing the zoning for whole districts B3 usage, that needs to be carefully considered. It's best done in a master planning exercise. It's best done very, very cautiously and only every once in a while. It's my understanding, one of the cornerstones of our successful defense against the Stop and Shop, which was too big, too much traffic that we fought off as a town for 30 some odd years is the fact that we are very careful in rezoning. Very, very careful. This kind of spot zoning is not helping that cornerstone of our defense. So I think, as has been talked about, if we have some streamlining and we do it as a master plan of what needs to be changed in the various business districts, that can be done. But as proposed, this felt very narrow, very spot, and very capricious. Thank you.
Can I just add one little bit? I didn't use up all my time, but.
Go ahead.
Because you want to delete this right now, doesn't make any sense to me. If you want to rewrite it in some way.
It is going to be, it's going to be tabled, it's going to, well, let us vote.
Yeah, leave it alone for now until you figure out.
That's what we're
That's
gonna
what
do.
we're trying to
That's
get
what we're
to.
gonna do.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna do. We appreciate your input.
Yeah, she moved back here and there's two on the phone,
Yeah.
Mayor.
Hello.
Good evening. I represent Ann Andriaggi, who is a resident at 10 Glenwood Drive. And I've
Yep.
also been in discussions with other residents
Yes.
as well. So I appreciate the fact that you are going to table this. But just for the record, I hope that it remains off the table. And my concern is more because of Committeewoman Anglo's comments. Because one thing that I do want you to just have on the record is that you have to have proofs that it won't be detrimental to the neighborhood. And I had a letter, and I know you don't like hearing letters because when they're not here, but she is an 80-year-old woman, 80, maybe 84.
No, it's fine that
So-
you
so
as a
she
member
is-
of the public, it is.
Okay, but she, but some of the things that she had attached, you talk about what's there right now, and you can see.
Yes.
Garbage, huge thing of grease up against her property, okay? They had to put down rubber mats because there's so much grease on the ground. Sorry, it's a mask, I lose my, I can't breathe, so it's
Sorry.
like when I get passionate, it sucks in.
Yeah.
Storage containers that they're not even allowed to have on their property, they would get fined by the Millburn Township. Then you look at across the street, these were to her letter, so I'm just trying to
Yes.
sum it up quick. The picture doesn't do it justice, but there's a little courtyard there with 4 chairs, they painted a nice little yellow bicycle, they put plants there. That's what we want behind residents that abut property. This property has even more room. The property behind the Glenwood to Meadowbrook section has less than probably 15 feet. I did not go there and get out a ruler, but I think if I did, it's probably about 15 feet. That huge thing of grease, I don't know if you all remember, back in 2010, huge fire. There wasn't the grease by then, at that time. If that petition, which is present right now, was there, you would have taken out that whole block along with the neighbors. Okay? It is not beneficial to their property values. It is not sorry, I didn't read. It is not beneficial to the neighborhood. And there's been no study here that shows that a restaurant is going to be more successful than a clothing store or than a salon. And the difference with, you referenced the sweet shop. The sweet shop was only open till 6 p.m. at night. It was also not open on Sundays. People would go there and have a coffee and read the paper. I'm going to just combine my time with my letter, if that's okay. So the point is, that you're comparing a use that was not always there. And you have to look at, in order to change an ordinance, you know that you have to show that it won't be a detriment to the neighborhood. That has not been shown. I've seen no studies that also show a restaurant is a more successful business than a different type of store or salon. In fact, restaurants have a higher failure rate in the first year than any other business. So most businesses, a restaurant has a 60% chance of failure in the first year and an 80% chance of failure by its 5th year in business. So I think if you really started doing the analysis, we should not be making it easier for restaurants to come in and make the neighborhood look like this. And that's the proof. This is the proof at the salon, okay, a nice business, what they're doing for the betterment of the neighborhood. So,
That's
I
an
do have
enforcement
problems.
issue. I will say that is actually an enforcement issue that should be addressed continuously by our business administrator and our enforcer.
Well, and I think you have enforcement issues about how people apply, how businesses are getting in. You have a lot of issues that are going on in this.
I don't know why there hasn't been good enforcement.
And there are things that are not. And that zone was put in place without having an approval. There is an approval process if you are seeking a variance and a conditional use. And those rules have to be followed for exactly this reason.
I would just encourage you to leave those pictures
I
and
do.
with our
And I
township.
do have a letter. She's a pleasure to deal with. She's been in the neighborhood over 60
Right.
years. She knows the businesses. She's, always been accommodating, has a good relationship with most of them, and,
May I ask you a question? When was the garbage, like, when did you take those pictures? I mean, was that recently?
Oh, yeah, it was just like a few days ago.
Because we should send our enforcement officer to make sure that's not
And I can
continuing.
tell you, every time I've been there, it's been exactly the
Yeah,
same.
okay, so we should take care of that.
And they also have issues, that one thing that you didn't address, you just said, oh, they moved there, and they were used to that noise. No, they weren't. There was never anything that was allowed to be open after 6 o'clock at night, okay? And it's not fair when you have such a setback. If you're up in Upper Short Hills, yes, you may have 2 acres of property, but those houses have less than 3/4 of an acre. Most of them are .198 if they're lucky, And so what you don't realize is, they can't enjoy the back patio, they're now smelling. If you also see, you can, I don't know if this picture shows it.
I think you made your point.
made your point. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Anik Makaja. I live on Meadowbrook Road, and I want to talk to you about the restaurant ordinance. 3 parts. First, to talk about why it came up, and I'd like to respond to Committeewoman Eglo. Number 2, to say some thank yous. And 3, to give you some silver linings out of this. Very quickly, with regards to I live on Meadowbrook. With regards to residents who live there, they knew they were living on a commercial zone. But equally, when they moved in, anyone with a smart lawyer would have looked at the zoning behind them. And you'll take one discount for a retail store, another discount for a restaurant or a McDonald's or a bar that's going to keep you up till 11 o'clock at night. Have guys walking out of a sports bar saying, "Go Yankees," to have drunk people, to have the bottles coming out at 5 in the morning. So there's different discounts. By changing zoning, you're now putting a bigger haircut on those people. There's over 100 houses in that neighborhood that border this area. 100 houses that pay over $2 million of taxes per year. You can conservatively estimate they'll lose over $10 million of house value. That's the impact of what you were talking about. So please take that into
I
mind.
don't have those studies, but
It's not a study. I
I'm
can
trying
give
to
you the
say,
numbers.
Stephen, I hear you. I'm just trying to say people are continuously upset about
I'm
the
sorry,
empty.
I have a minute and 16 minutes left.
You can have it after me.
Okay.
The empty
Let him
storefronts.
finish, please.
Okay, if I can have my time back, please,
No,
because
you
time
can
is
have it
short.
back. Of course, I'm not that picky about time. Go.
Okay, thank you.
Not me.
The good news is this ordinance came out. We reached out to the committee, and I would like to thank Mr. Wasserman for coming out to my house, for listening to residents, for understanding what the situation was,
Oh, I
and for listening and understanding this. He took it to heart. He thought about it. He took it back to the committee and understood that, yes, we probably made a mistake. We can do this better in a win-win way. I understand your intention of restaurant to restaurant, cut red tape, especially in the central business district. That makes sense. That's good for our economy and good for our town. So I encourage you to do that. But please don't punish those in the neighborhood zone and the Morris Avenue zone. I know I'm short on time, so I'm trying to be quick.
Silver lining.
Silver line. No, before I get to silver lining,
Okay.
democracy is not perfect, but it works. It works when our elected officials listen to the residents and act in the best interest of those residents. The silver lining out of all this is we had a number of residents rally together who were very concerned about this. We created a very large text chain on Tuesday. Later that day, we got hit with a hurricane. That text chain then became information sharing by everyone of who lost power, and now everyone's talking together. People are actually being neighborly out of this. So there was a small silver lining, though it was painful to get there. So once again, thank you very much for reconsidering. for bringing forth a good policy and for taking care of the town residents.
Thanks so much.
I apologize for calling you Stephen, and I just want to comment. Democracy works when government listens. I don't think we saw that here earlier tonight, unfortunately. So when you get what you want, government works. When you don't get what you want, it doesn't work. Thank you for
Ma'am,
speaking
I've
up.
had two instances dealing with this committee. I'm not an activist. I don't like doing this.
The
but
other one was the marijuana.
I came out for the marijuana. You made a long speech, and then you voted against it. So I'm not sure where you stood on that one. I now know where you stand on this one and how you feel about residents in Meadowbrook. So thank you very much.
What about the SID? Why weren't you helping the SID?
All right.
Okay, anyway, let's.
Democracy.
Oh, so now what do we?
Yeah.
Mayor, sorry to cut, there's two people on the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have somebody on the phone?
There's
Yes,
two,
please.
yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure, Jay Morielli, 1 Claremont Drive in Short Hills. For reference, the back of my property abuts the Mavis Tire Shop, and the side of my property abuts the AT&T parking lot. We've lived in the Glenwood section here for 17 years. We deal with a lot of problems related to commercial property, some of which you can expect, things like the noise, some of which you don't expect, like fences falling down and trash flowing in. I realize that this is an enforcement issue. Unfortunately, I think historically the town has not done a great job of enforcing some of its rules. We consider ourselves to be very business friendly. We patronized common lots since the day they opened. Considered Aaron and Nadine good friends. We welcomed Silvio and Michael when they moved Bocconi South from South Orange. We were just at Fiamma Pizza this past weekend. We got our flowers from Linda's. We got our haircuts from Tony and Jonathan and Uppercuts. I could go on and on. But with that said, removing the 125-foot setbacks for the restaurants, and I know you're rethinking it, is obviously not well thought out. The back wall of Mavis, which is next door to Bill's Army Navy, is 5 feet from our property line. It's approximately 35 feet to the end of our deck, where we enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinners, and 50 feet from our kitchen window. Having a restaurant exhaust vent, and I've sent an email with pictures to show some of these issues to the Township Committee, it would basically make our deck and our backyard unusable. So I am happy to hear that the Township Committee is rethinking this, and I hope that when you do look at making things better for businesses, which we do support, and restaurants as well, that you take into account folks that have lived here many, many years and whose properties abut those businesses. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, is there one more? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yeah, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Chris Simonello from Kimco Realty Corporation, 500 North Broadway, Jericho, New York, 11753. You may be aware that we are the owner of the plaza at Short Hills, located at 800 Morris Turnpike. We're in support of the ordinance 2560-20 that allows restaurants to operate in our zoning district as of right. We have owned this shopping center since 2014 and have pursued many restaurants without success. The main reason is that our property is located within the 125-foot restaurant buffer established by the current ordinance, presenting potential tenants with lengthy permitting challenges that discourage investment and action. Enacting the updated ordinance will create an opportunity to better serve the community by adding restaurants to our tenant mix. Our shopping center, currently sitting with a 17,000 square foot vacancy, is anchored by King Supermarket. It creates a destination for everyday living. We provide essential products and services to the community, such as groceries, retail, and personal care services. Adding a restaurant would complement the current uses at this center and bolster its long-term success in this troubling landscape for brick-and-mortar retail. One thing is for certain, we all enjoy food. Whether it's grabbing a quick bite while running errands or needing a special place to meet family and friends, restaurants are essential. Having the ability to add to this sector will not only provide great new food options, but will also create sustainability. Neighboring businesses will benefit from the added foot traffic that restaurants stimulate, and most importantly, new jobs will be created. Now more than ever, we need to take measures to support our local community and businesses. So it is important to vote yes for this ordinance and give the changing retail landscape every opportunity to survive and thrive. I thank you very much for your consideration.
Another one came on.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, please say your name and address for the record.
Sure. It's Joe Esposito, 80 Meadowbrook Road, Short Hills. I don't have anything prepared. I just wanted to say thank you to the committee, Community Wasserman, for taking time to listen to us as a community and to our concerns. I'm glad that this is going back to the drawing board. I'm very active in the community. I grew up here. I went to Carvel, went to Lestrada before it had a fancy makeover. I enjoy eating out. But I am worried about what potential restaurants or what, in quotes, fast food restaurants might come into the town. I think it was about a year or two ago, there was a liquor license that was up for debate across on Millburn Ave and an open-air bar that I spoke up against. So I'm just kind of wary of what businesses come in. I know you can't have your cake and eat it too, and I'm kind of sad about Squirrel and Bee closing, but I do think it is important that citizens and town members that live. I live 10 feet away from the yoga studio formerly known as Poe, and that's 10 feet from a grease fire. Or I just want to have a say, and I want my fellow residents to have a say of what comes in if you go through the proper channels. All for going from business to business, and for Tinga getting a new, a lease renewed by another restaurant. But for new businesses coming in, just want to have that say as a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it? Okay. Sponsor.
Okay. Okay. I'm the sponsor. I move that the public hearing be closed and the ordinance, I'm not going to say adopted, but it says
Yeah,
adopted,
we
right?
have to vote.
On
We
the,
vote
on the,
on it.
okay, adopted on the final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed in the final reading in accordance with the law.
Second.
Roll call.
Wait.
Did you call for a roll call?
Roll
Yeah.
call.
May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Burstein?
You're on mute.
So, I keep it on mute if I'm not speaking. So as I understand it, I agree that we should be rethinking the ordinance to balance neighborhood concerns and business concerns, so I'm voting no.
Ms. Prupus?
No.
Ms. Stahl-Eglo?
Abstain.
Mr. Wasserman?
No.
Mayor Lieberberg?
No.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to make the appointment of the Board of Trustees to the District Management Corporation. Whereas Millburn Township Committee has created a special improvement district within the Township of Millburn and designated a District Management Corporation Ordinance 2561 adopted on August 11th, 2020. The Board of Trustees shall have duty and responsibility to oversee, implement the powers of the corporation in accordance with NJSA 56-65, Title 15A of the Statutes of the State of New Jersey, and by Ordinance 2561-20. Are there, may I have a motion?
May I have a comment?
May I have a motion to approve 20-162?
I wanted a comment, Mayor.
When you vote, so moved.
Excuse me, may I make a comment
Yes, make
before
a
we move
comment.
this? When this was all happening and everyone was commenting that
Yeah.
Jackie and Tara were handpicking the board, they assured us that the TC would have an opportunity to speak about the prospective slate board. So when we did have our session, there were some objections or some questions or considerations brought up, that they are from all downtown, there was no one from uptown, and it was just dismissed. It should be known, I'm all about open and transparency, and I'm not hiding anything I speak for or against. This slate is absolutely, positively handpicked by the subcommittee. There was no negotiating on any of these people, and I'm glad that Nadaj and Andrew and Stefan and Jumana and Tracy and Michael Parlavecchio all were in attendance, either virtually or here, to speak for this. But it should be very well known that there was absolutely, from the 13 people they had to pick from, there was no discussion and there was no movement at all. So with that, you may continue.
May I have a motion to approve Resolution 20-162?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Christine?
Christine, roll call, please.
Ms. Burstein?
There's nobody other than from downtown, and since this SID is supposed to be representative of the town as a whole, I can't support the slate as chosen, so no.
Ms. Pruitt?
I think that we have a great group of people on the slate, and I'm really excited about the work that they're going to do, so I vote yes.
For downtown.
Ms. Stahl-Eglo?
I will echo Committeewoman Burstein's comments and vote no.
Mr. Wasserman?
And I will tell you that we have an amazing group of people from town that love Millburn, that want to move our town forward. And I would say to the people that have issues or are concerned about what we're doing, to give us a chance, that we're going to do what we think is right for the town. We're going to really work hard. We have a great group of volunteers. So I really implore you, even if you disagree with us, give us a chance. We're going to look at this very carefully. We want to make this a success. We have a lot of vacancies, and this is an opportunity for us to work together. So with that, I say absolutely yes.
Mayor Lieberberg?
Yes.
Okay, but before you finish, I have this comment to Mr. Wasserman. I didn't suggest that you have a great slate. You may have wonderful people, and I'm sure a lot of them are appropriate. My point is that it's not representative of the footprint. I'm not suggesting it's not. Great people who are going to work really hard and have great ideas. My comment is it doesn't represent the footprint, and that's why I'm objecting and voting no. Just to make sure you understand. Because your implication was otherwise.
No representation for the other parties.
What's next?
Does any committee member have an item of old business to address?
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd just like to bring up one item of old business.
Yes.
Just as an FYI to the
Yes.
committee going forward. A while back, the committee had authorized us to look into the R4 district by Park Road, Park Circle. The planner of the township has looked at that, a memo and draft ordinance to revise that to be rezoned as a residential district that better reflects the properties in that R4 district. will be distributed to the township committee. I just wanted to let you know that progress has been made, and also the resident, I think, that had brought it before the township committee, so that they know that progress has been made, and that will be in your hands shortly.
Thank you. Does any committee member have an item of new business to address?
No.
I have something that I'd like to mention. We had the deputy police chief here several weeks ago on July 14th, talking about the role of our police force, their training, their policies, their procedures. I've had conversations with Georgiana Horn with respect to having another evening open dialogue with our police chief. I've been in communication with our business administrator as well. We are circling a couple of dates, September 3rd, 9th, or the 10th, to have a open dialogue and a Zoom call, and we would welcome community participation, and as well as moving forward the idea of a task force that would focus on some of the issues of inequality, fairness, balance, and racism in the community. And that group would be populated with students, residents, TC members, Board of Ed. I've also spoken with Oyen Oluwabi at the Board of Ed about the potential formation of this group. So this is a work in progress, but we will be moving forward with the police chief Zoom call in early September. Please stay tuned for dates. And I do want to reiterate that I believe we are an extraordinary community, and this task force would be a deliverable and a first step. I think we can do better, and we will do better, and I hope that this is the first of many initiatives that will bring us closer as a community towards equality, fairness, and balance for all our residents. I believe the time is now for change, and we should not let this moment pass. So I would like to share that with my fellow township committee members. If anybody has anything they'd like to add to that initiative, I'd like to move that forward to be discussed. We've got a busy
good.
fall ahead.
That sounds like a great initiative, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else have any new business that they'd like to mention? May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?